Whoa, whoa. and that button. Yes, yes, everybody, and welcome to High on Homegrown, the cannabis podcast from percysgrowroom.com. I am Mackie from the UK, and joining us... fuck! You see, so close to being pro. You catch that? Shit. And joining us this week, we have Bubble Hawk.
G'day guys, Bubble Hawk here from the land down under. Hope we're all doing well.
We have Temple Grower.
Hey guys, TG up in Treaty 6 territory. Kind of chilly out, but I'm pretty toasted, so it's all good.
Nice. How you doing, Marge? You good?
I'm doing great. I am. Marge from Canada. also chilly. It's also chilly here. But...
It's so cold. And then we have Monkey too. Monkey
Yes.
Dude. Yeah.
Not in the cold areas down here. I'm closer to what Bubble Hawk is experiencing in temperature wise, but yes, down here in the southeast US.
Yes, man. Good to see everybody. Good to see everybody out there in the chat. Thanks for joining us, everyone. That was semi-professional. What would you mark the intro? 10 out of 10 this week. What are you saying? Out of 10, not necessarily 10 out of 10.
-4.
Minus and shit.
4.
God
That's
damn.
harsh.
It sounds like
Well,
TG's temperatures right now. God damn it.
You know the rule though, when you make a mistake, just keep going like you never did, and you corrected yourself, so you can't do that, man. You get a minus points for that.
Whatever, man. Whatever. Fine. Fine.
Go ahead, Chad. Give him a score. It better be negative now.
Good. It's got to be 7, right? Give us a 7 for that.
I don't know. I'm thinking like a 5.75 overall.
That'll do. It's got a 7 in it. I'm
4.2
happy with
at the
that.
most, that's it. 4.2 out of 10.
Nice. See, Phil Me Bowles give it a 7. There we go. Nice. See, I agree. I agree with you, Phil. I concur. 7 is
You guys
fine.
are fucked. You got to be like, I'll go with 420, Bob.
4.2, Bob. Yeah, that's it.
Remember that when that guy was 420 on Price is Right for everything?
No, I don't. It's Crunch Killer dropping us 99 cents. What's up, man? Thank you very much for the super chat there. We don't see those very often. We appreciate it. Thank you. And Billy Bonds has returned this week. Good to see you in the chat, bro. We have all missed you and been wondering where the fuck you are. So good to see you, bro. And who else do we have? We have a long list of people in the chat. Let's give a quick shout out to everybody who's here. We have Twisted, Leo, Filmy Bowls, Backblast, Casso, Namargon, Mr. Wes, Fifi LaFume, Arnie Scarpa, I'm Sparky, Firetop, Gellert, Undertaker, Fweech, South Silly, Billy Barnes, of course, Churbro Grows, Savans, Small Tubes, Alistair. That's right, innit? Alistair Palo, excuse me for not being able to pronounce your name properly. I'm ignorant. TWP Popcorn, UK Ziff 420, Hippie Zombie, Dave Leal, aka Mind Toker, Reefer Beliefer. What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you're not a subscriber already. We would appreciate that. That would be very cool. So, yes, how is everybody this week?
Pretty damn good.
Yeah.
I'm alive. I'm awake.
Quiet, actually. Nobody's saying anything.
Mm-hmm. And GB just landed in the chat. What's up, GB? We have Dr. Green Thumb as well. And that reminds me, because you see how Dr. Green Thumb got that little sign next to his name there? That means he's a YouTube member. And I added this new thing to the screen here. Look, it's up in the chat now if you can see it. And that's all the patrons we have. So a quick shout out to the patrons and the YouTube members. We have Cloudy, Twisted, Dr. X, Grower Urban, Toploader, Clist, WRT Gunner, Stutty, Noxy, South Silly, Eggman, Backblast, Gellert, Andy M, Stonewolf, Soul to Bowls, Arnie Scarpa, Canna Wife, Brodad, Lucky Luke, Satan's Soup Soils, Billy Bonds, High Guy Gardner, Savans, I'm Sparky, Namargon, Trout, Dr. Green Thumb, Hashimoto, Four Plants A, Figment, aka Bogtech, Postman Wayne, Majestic Jane, Michelle P, Dio, PGR, Furburger, Leo Style, and Woody. There we go. That's a fucking register we got now. God damn. Yeah, Furburger. They don't actually have a YouTube name, so I went to their YouTube profile, and that was the name of their YouTube profile. So I just rolled with that.
I know. Furburger is a great word. Great word.
So, there you go. You have TG's approval with your name there, Furburger.
Very much approved.
Yes, man. We massively appreciate all of you guys being Patreons and supporters of the show, and even just being here watching the show and subscribing to the channel and shit. We massively appreciate that too. So thank you very much. But yeah, time for a session and to talk about some cannabis news and some grow guides. Of course, we have lots of different news stories to cover this week. Some good ones as well. I've got a really interesting one out here from the UK, which we'll talk about. And of course, for the grow guides this evening, we're going to be talking about, well, we are going to be asking TG loads of questions about how to build your own super soil. That's going to be very cool.
Hmm.
Yes.
You think so?
We think so. We think so. We hope so.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
it is cool, but you know.
So, what you smoking on this week, TG? What you got? What's in your collection, man?
I'm hitting this Fuel Dog from Seedsman. It's I grew 3 of them because Seedsman was generous enough to give me. They're like, hey, pick some seeds from our shit and we'll send them to you. And I was like, fuck, that's weird, but okay.
Nice. Are you going to be in
I
the
did.
grow off? You might not have seen it yet.
Not that no. This was a long, maybe last year sometime.
And we got a new grow off coming over on Percy's in the next couple of weeks. It'll be starting. The Cali Cowboy grow off. Come and check that out, man. See if you want to get involved with that.
Yeah, probably can. I'm fucking pretty capacitated at this point.
But it's not like you to not want to fire up another tent, bro.
Yeah.
Well, you've only got about 5 on right now, ain't you? So yeah.
6, but they're all going, you know. I got some shit on the go, so
Cool.
no room. But yeah, I was just again, this is what this shit does. It's tangentially fucking oriented. It's just a mishmash of OG Kush, and it's fucking awesome. It's like the potency. I don't feel like this very often with shit. I'm keeping this on like big time. So
Nice.
it's fucking good, basically.
What's Marge got? Have you on them cannabis drinks, Marge?
Well,
drinking?
I have had a lot of those cannabis drinks, but no, not today. I am actually enjoying some of TG's very own Forbidden Dream again.
Oh, nice.
And so delicious. I've been smoking that all week.
You mentioned that last week as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you like it? Like,
yeah, I
you do?
I find it
Is it-
very like
Okay.
uplifting. Like it doesn't make me sleepy or anything.
Yeah, it's fucking like grapefruit mixed with like grapefruit essence and then combined with super grapefruit. It's a tangy descendant, like I said, and a lot of people, myself included, like I'm not a big fan of like anything about it, but the high is very nice, and the just the after effects are great. But it's a very like I hate it or I love it kind of thing, I find.
No, really.
Yeah.
I love it. So
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
Nice.
yeah, because you sent me a lot.
Nice. What's Bubble Hop squishing this week into rosin so he can pour it down his neck? What you got there, Bubble?
Fresh pressed wedding cake and some skunk. So I mixed up a 50-50 mix of nuggets between this Clark Kent's armpit and the wedding cake, and squished it all together. And I'm quite pleased with myself because it's actually a really nice mix.
Nice.
It's got really nice, really nice terpene profile, but also smacks you up the side of the head like little league baseball bats. So it's quite nice.
Yes, there to wake you up, right?
Oh yeah,
Mm.
definitely wakes you up.
Nice. What time is it in where you are right now?
Currently 7:08 in the AM.
Oh, so it's not that bad. Not that bad.
It's no, another like 3 or 4 weeks or something like that, and then we go back another hour. Whenever you, it's weird because it's like there's like a crossover week where it's only an hour. Like we get another hour back, so it'll be 7 a.m. and then like a week or two later, then it goes to 6 a.m. for as we go into winter.
I think
and
it's
you go
like
into
the end of
summer.
March or something. where we
Yeah,
change ours
March, I
back.
think.
Yeah.
I think that's what I saw the other day when I was going through it. But yeah, so at the moment it's still 8 a.m., but it will go back to 6 a.m., which is
Yeah.
actually better for me anyway.
Wow. Well, okay. Good for you, bro. Monkey, what you saying?
Oh, well, we were doing some cleaning up and the missus handed me a jar to put away, and it just happened it was a jar of Bruce Banner that I hadn't seen in forever. So
Nice.
smoking some found Bruce Banner today.
Well cured.
Yeah, I really don't know when it was grown, but it's pretty tasty and definitely got a kick to it right now. So
Mrs. Monkey's just like, oh, I found this jar.
she's like, "You need to move these." I said, "What?"
There's more?
Really? Yeah, I didn't think I needed to move that.
Somebody needs to get a rosin press. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Yeah, man. Cool. So everybody's having a good time. Everybody's getting good and high. I hope everybody's smoking on something nice out there in the chat as well. And make sure you're smoking up some fine ass weed, getting your pre-rolls ready for the show, building your bowls, and consuming your cannabis in whichever way you prefer to do it, whether that be smoking, drinking, or eating. You know, completely up to you. Just consume something. Yeah, Artman says that he loves found weed. Don't we all? Don't we all?
Yeah. It seems these days I'm finding more and more of it all the time. So maybe I need to control my jars a little bit better.
They just keep getting out.
Yeah, they just keep running away from me and hiding.
I'll just try this one, and then you just forget that the jar even got out the cupboard in the first
Like,
place.
oh, well, where'd that one go? Oh, no problem. I'll just get another one.
So what we saying? We got anything else to add here before we move on to the cannabis news and events? I think that's it. We're all good. We're all good. Everything else to add, we're just doing the cannabis news and events, isn't it? So random shit. Oh, I found another random video you should all check out. You know how I like to find these random as fuck videos across the internet and let you know all about them. Today I found the Norwegian version of YMCA. And it's like in the 80s and shit. It's so bad. It's so fucking bad. So make sure you go and check that out, everybody. If you want to. I'm not forcing any.
All right, everybody pause the show right now.
Everybody pause the show.
Check it out right now.
NMK. And they can't do the YMCA above their head because it's different fucking words in Norwegian. It's so bad. It's so bad. Damn. Yeah, good times.
Well,
good times.
I told you your favorite song came out in Community too, didn't I?
Oh
sitting
yeah,
there
you
watching
said, yeah,
Community the other
Jesus
day.
is my
Yeah.
friend. I have a friend in Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus is a friend of mine. Come on,
Oh,
everybody.
it had me.
You know,
Yeah,
Thank
it
you.
had me in stitches.
fucking epic. We should make a thread of these, like Mackie's random finds. You know, get get that Arnie deep fakes up there. Shit, I sent Monkey an Arnie deep fake the other day where he was doing Willy Wonka.
Doolittle.
No, it's
Oh,
Willy
Willy
Wonka.
It wasn't
Yeah,
Dr.
yeah.
Dolittle. Yeah.
And he's talking about the
weird thing
Oompa
about that-
Loompas.
You know, when you deep fake Arnie's face into Willy Wonka's costume, I'm like, what the hell is that? It doesn't even make sense when you look at the picture.
Twisted's gone to see it. He's off to see it.
I mean, Gene Wilder was easy. You see it, go, oh, Willy Wonka, no problem. You put Arnie's face in that costume, you're going like, what the heck?
Epic, man. Epic. Yes, so I think I'll start a thread. Remind me, because I'll forget. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, should we do this cannabis news and events thing? Make sure you hit that like button, everybody, and subscribe if you haven't done that yet. That'd be sweet. But let's do the news. Let's do it. Getting the groove on to the news tune there. I do like that professional BBC sounding news intro. But anyway, so who wants to go first? Does anybody want to go first with this? Anybody eager to get their news article up and running?
Sure, I'll run up ahead because
Sweet.
mine really doesn't tie into anything.
We
It
have a
kind of
volunteer.
Volunteer, yes. Cut up, take the Band-Aid, rip it off fast, it's done. Okay, this comes from many different sources, but from Forbes. New guideline advised disclosing cannabis use before surgery. Now, again, we've talked a little bit about this before, and talking to Dr. Greenspoon and Dr. Goldstein about these things, they both agree with this situation here, though. But in the United States now, all patients undergoing procedures that require anesthesia are advised to disclose their cannabis use before surgery, according to new guidelines by the American Society of Regional Anesthesia and Pain Management. The guidelines, which were first related to the use of cannabis prior to surgery, also note that regular use of cannabis may worsen pain and nausea after surgery, increasing the need for powerful but addictive opioid painkillers. So that's kind of, I'm not surprised by this information really, but at the same time, it kind of does make me think twice about this. Does this mean because I use cannabis for pain, that if I go and have a surgical procedure, am I going to actually need stronger opioids after surgery? I don't really know, but that's what the article seems to be alluding to right now. So before surgery, anesthesiologists should ask patients if they use cannabis, whether medicinally or recreational, and be prepared to possibly change the anesthesia plan or delay the procedure in certain situations. Now, the delay they're talking about is, it comes down later in the article, and I'll go ahead and drop that bomb right now. They're talking about if you show up to have surgery and they find out that you're high, that they shouldn't operate on you. So
Wow.
kind of makes sense in a way, because I know in the United States, they require you to sign a consent form before surgery, and you're supposed to be, you know,
But
you're
are
right.
they going to do the same thing with other medications, or is it just cannabis they're fucking telling you not to do here? Like,
Well,
if you
right
show
now-
up and you've taken a shitload of Vicodin or something, would they be like, oh, that's cool, we'll still do surgery on you?
Well,
I
I
suspect if
I
you're
can
high
guarantee
on,
you. Yeah.
if you're high on that shit, that they'd probably say the same thing.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Probably-
yeah. That's
Yeah, we
when
got to
you go in for
reschedule.
pre-surgery down here, Mackie, they pretty much tell you which drugs you cannot have before
Mhm,
surgery. They'll ask you, what do you
Yeah.
normally take? And they say, okay, you can't have any of this. And, you
And
know,
that's fine, just expect equal treatment for our Mary Jane. That's all.
it is. I mean, it sounds like the article is actually pinning down cannabis, but I don't really think that the article is so much blaming cannabis for being bad as just saying that, hey, we need to start treating it like every other medicine
Mhm.
we're using here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a medicine president, who is his name? Samer Narose, and I know I butchered that. ASRA pain management president said in a statement from the Organization of Anesthesiologists and Pain Management Professionals, they also need to counsel patients about the possible risks and effects of cannabis. For example, even though some people use cannabis therapeutically to relieve pain, studies now show that regular users may have more pain and nausea after surgery, not less, and may need more medications, including opioids, to manage discomfort. So, they're basically saying here that just because you use cannabis to relieve your pain doesn't mean that you're not going to feel really horrible after surgery. And that kind of makes sense,
Mhm.
And I know in the United States, we have a patient-doctor confidentiality policy here that what I discuss with my doctor about my health and my medical practices is my own business and his, and he has to keep it between the two of us, and that's just the way it is. So you can in the United States, and I don't want to encourage just everybody because I don't know your laws in other countries, but here it's not legal for a doctor to say, hey, he's using cannabis, you need to arrest him. No, that's my business between me and my doctor, and that's my health, and that doesn't go anywhere. If it does, there's an issue. So in the United States, don't be afraid to talk to your doctors, is what I'm trying to say right here.
Mm-hmm.
Part of that Hippocratic oath or something, isn't it?
It is do no
Hmm.
harm, but also here it's part of there's a law called HIPAA that makes my medical privacy a federal requirement by law. It's actually they passed a law that revealing any bit of my medical history, I can sue you and you're in big trouble, and doctors can lose their license for that. So you are protected, and that's a good thing because especially in areas where medical cannabis is not yet legal, and we know that those areas have people who do use cannabis, even though it's not quote unquote legal, but it helps them. But they still need to talk to their doctors and explain that they're using this because cannabis can affect many things, and especially if you're going into surgery, it's going to affect the way your anesthesia works on you. The article goes down further down and says that anesthesiologists need to know if you're a heavy cannabis user because it may require more anesthesia to keep you unconscious for the entire procedure. So I definitely would not be wanting to wake up in the middle of a surgical procedure. So
And not even that, not even like wake up, but sometimes people, there's a specific name for it as well, because it happens more often than you think. Don't want to freak anybody out, but
Well, I know
people
what you're
can
talking about.
seem like they're asleep, but they're actually awake and they can feel all like they're playing with their organs and shit. That doesn't
great.
sound cool, man. Listen to your anesthesiologist, motherfuckers. It's an important thing. If he says don't smoke any weed, don't smoke any weed. You don't want to be fucking going for none of that shit. That's a bad trip. That is, damn.
Right. Yeah, the guideline recommends that anesthesiologists ask patients about their cannabis use, frequency of use, how much they use, which type of cannabis they use, and when they last used the medicine. The recommendations also suggest that the healthcare providers postpone elective surgery if a patient arrives for the procedure under the influence of cannabis. So, wow, I can't say anything bad about this. I know if I walked into the hospital drunk, they wouldn't operate on me, right?
Yeah, that's very
So,
true.
one of these things. It's pretty normal, but it's a good article. I saw it, and I definitely said that this is something that we need to reiterate here, that this cannabis is medicine. It's not something you need to hide from your doctor at this point. The new guidelines also suggest that frequent heavy cannabis users be counseled on the potential negative effects, such as controlling pain after surgery. Pregnant patients should also be informed about the potential effects of maternal cannabis on the fetus and newborns. They noted that patients who regularly use cannabis might need more anesthesia to fall asleep to keep them from waking up. Heavy cannabis users could experience more agitation during surgery. Definitely don't want that, Flinching, oh Lord. Potentially leading to the need for more monitoring during recovery and delayed discharge from hospitals. A discussion before surgery can help the anesthesiologist provide the adequate, appropriate level of pain control while helping the patient understand the risks. So this is all new here in the US that, they're finally starting to move cannabis into mainstream medicine, I would say. So this is a promising thing, but all of our listeners, if you're a medical cannabis patient, please talk to your doctors. They need to know.
Yeah. For many reasons, not just the anesthesiologist thing, but the CBD with the medications that work with the liver and shit like that. We spoke about it before. It's not harmless. There can be side effects if you're not careful. So
it is a medicine. We know this, and it does. You can call it a drug if you want. Go ahead, it's fine. But we know that it does do certain things. We just don't know everything it does. And because of the federal guidelines that we have here for so long, not being able to test things, we really don't know everything about interactions right yet.
Yeah,
So
very
by
true,
all
man.
means, be open, be honest, and listen to what your doctor tells you about this stuff. If you're going into surgery, you got high blood pressure problems or diabetes, if you have regular medications, your doctor needs to know your health practices. So
It's a good point there as well, which you make it, but the tests haven't been done because it's been illegal for them to do so, and it still is federally illegal, right?
They've recently rewritten some federal laws that allow them to do more of testing at the federal level now. It's not completely removed all the way, but yes, there are able to do more tests now. But you can imagine it's going to take a really long time before people want to jump into this. I mean, we've talked to other doctors, and they've told us over and over again that when you do cannabis right now, that some doctors look down on you, like, you're touching that? So it's going to be a while before, I feel like, at least cannabis becomes normal in medicine.
Yeah.
And until then, we just got to do what we got to do.
Indeed.
But, I use it on a daily basis to control pain. It works really well for me, but I'm just going to have to fit that into the rest of my life, So guys, talk to your doctors.
Indeed. Don't be shy.
Nope.
So I have
Can you imagine?
Sorry, Bubble, you got something to say there?
I was going to say, can you imagine going into your meeting with your anesthetologist or whatever it is and having to outline every strain and every type of cannabis you smoke?
Well, I smoked this 23% one this morning.
Yeah, just come in with like a 3-ring binder, just sheets of paper.
Bubble walks in with these vials of rosin. He said, well, I had this one this morning. I had that one last night.
And that one was 20 minutes ago.
I'm about due for this one here. So no, I don't really think that they want to get that in depth on it, but I guess, if they really wanted that information, I could give it to them. But do you really think that everything that you've ever bought from a dispensary or a legacy person, for that matter, is actually what they say it is? I've had questions several times about stuff I've gotten. Like, this can't be right.
Anesthetics is complex, man. You know how dentists have to go to medical school for longer than doctors do, and that's because of the anesthetics that the dentists have to use, man. They only deal with the mouth, really, the mouth and the throat, but they have to learn shitloads about anesthetics and how they work on people, and that's why it takes them so long, and why medical school is so long for a dentist, apparently, allegedly. But it's a complex thing, man. They still don't quite know how anesthetics works on people. He just knows that it makes people sleep and not be able to feel pain for a while. So it's complex.
Rusty Nails in the chat was saying if they need to know the strain, it proves they don't know what they're talking about as far as cannabis. But you know what? That's a true statement. They really don't know what they're talking about cannabis right now. So that's the reason they're asking these questions,
More research needed. And again, the reason why we have these problems in the first place is because the government are ignorant bastards and have kept this shit for illegal for too long. It's a farce, man. We need to fix things up. And we have the same problems here in the UK as well, with the cannabis being illegal and causing us problems. More problems than it would cause if it was legalized. It's a fucking farce. We have here, coming from the UK, and this gets a little bit dark in places, everybody. So trigger warning. Trigger warning. So I'll read the title here. A 23-year-old drove 3 hours. Completely unnecessary part of the title here, by the way. A 23-year-old drove 3 hours to rob a cannabis factory and ended up beaten to death. So yeah, this gets a little bit dark, everybody. It was completely unnecessary to say that he drove 3 hours. It just makes him out to be even more of a tool, really. Sorry. Anyway, we'll read through this. It says, under prohibition, and this is from Vice.com as well, so they have the right kind of take about this. They get the same kind of perspective as us. You know, prohibition causes these problems. If it wasn't prohibited the way it is, then we wouldn't be seeing these problems. But under prohibition, violence around the UK's huge illegal cannabis cultivation industry is endemic as Albanian gangs expand weed farm operations to Wales. And this is another problem we have here in the UK, is the Albanian gangs. Before the Albanians, it was Romanians, and before the Romanians, it was Vietnamese. It's just different people coming over to the UK, starting up weed farms. And then if they're discovered growing the weed farms, they just fuck off back to their home country, and we never see anything of them again. So this is just a problem which just goes round and round. It'll be somebody else in the next 10 years. It'll be a different fucking country. But right now, it's Albanian gangs who are growing a shitload of weed in the UK. And when you buy cannabis from the street, these are the kind of gangs that you're usually funding. So grow your own, everybody. So I'll carry on with the article here. The killing of a 23-year-old would-be cannabis burglar by 3 drug gang members is a continuing sign of the pernicious effects of UK weed laws, experts told Vice World News. The beating to death of Thomas, I don't know how to pronounce his name, it's Thomas. It's like Thomas without the H and it's got a Z on the end, and Wagga, a young father from Albania in Cardiff, by 3 members of a crime gang also from Albania. So we have a young Albanian guy driven 3 hours to go and rob a crop from somebody who was also Albanian. What are the odds? Also from Albania is the latest deadly example of ongoing cannabis farm wars in the UK, exposed by Vice World News in 2021. The case also reveals the wholesale expansion into Wales of Albanian gangs who have already become major players in the illegal cannabis growing industry alongside the cocaine trade in England. Because English people love cocaine. We love our snow over here in the UK. In January 2021, Wagga, a specialist cannabis farm burglar, so this must have been his job, with a previous conviction for breaking into weed factories. Okay. Travelled 3 hours in a car from London with accomplice Carl Davis and 2 other men after a tip-off about a 3-story illegal grow house packed with over 500 plants worth £120,000 in Newport Road, Cardiff. So he went with a couple of mates as well. Obviously, they ran off and left the friend to get beaten to death. Friends is what you can try and call them. But their attempt to steal the plants has thwarted because the grow was being guided by Highland Alage. And another word, you know, everybody that have trouble pronouncing these kind of words, man. You know, I'm really good at reading English words. I'm not really good, but good enough. But I'm difficult with other languages, so excuse me for my ignorance again. One of the gang's gardeners who was asleep in one of the rooms. So they've arrived there to try and steal the plants, and there was somebody asleep in the room. He raised the alarm when he was woken by the break-in, escaped, and alerted other members of the gang, included Yosif Nushi and Mihal Dana, who rushed to the property to defend their crop as the burglars were wrapping up the plants in bed sheets. What were they doing? They were wrapping them. Did they take the bed sheets with them? You know, and then they're wrapping up the plants, not going to chop them down. They must not have been ready for harvest or something. This clearly wasn't planned out properly. Wagga was stamped, kicked, and beaten to death with a baseball bat and a brick by 3 of the men, who put his body in a car before dumping it in a nearby street. Davis was left badly injured but alive. After the assault, killers Nushi, Dana, and Alage fled to Albania before being extradited back to the UK after an international manhunt carried out by South Wales police. On Tuesday, Nushi and Dana were given life sentences for murder, while Alage was jailed for 10 years for manslaughter. Charges against the 4th Albanian, a teenager alleged to have attacked Wagga and Davis, were dropped due to lack of evidence. So, interesting, right? In court, Wagga's sister, Patricia, described her brother's murder as brutal and said the killers dumped his body like a bag of rubbish, said Thomas, had an entire life ahead of him, including a newborn son who is now fatherless. The event that unfolded on January 28, 2021 did not warrant my brother being killed, and no one deserves to have their life taken at the hands of another individual, or even worse, numerous individuals. Cannabis market violence is clearly a result of cannabis prohibition, not cannabis per se, says Steve Rolls, senior policy analyst for Transform Drug Policy Foundation. We simply don't see producers and retailers in legal cannabis markets being beaten to death, just as we don't see rival brewers or tobacconists killing each other. In October, 2 cannabis farm burglars were jailed for life after stabbing 21-year-old Albanian. Again, Albanian. It's like there's a gang war going on right now in the UK between Albanian gangs, man, because of the prohibition of cannabis. It's a fucking farce. But a 21-year-old Romanian, Renato Geci, to death while attempting to steal £100,000 of drugs from a house in West London in 2021. Police in Wales are increasingly finding cannabis farms run by organised crime groups from Albania. Last month, 3 Albanian nationals who took selfies in front of plants and holding wads of cash to their ears like phones were sentenced to 3 years after they were convicted of running a cannabis farm in a house in Neath near Swansea. 2 weeks earlier, another Albanian who said he had been trafficked in the back of a lorry and coerced into working in the weed factory after his family had been threatened back home was arrested at a house in Bridgend. In November, an Albanian man was arrested after a suburban house containing 250 weed plants was found in a village near Cardiff. So yeah, that's about enough for this news article. I'm sure it goes on, but you get the gist of it. What the fuck is going on, man? What are we still going to be dealing with this shit here in the UK? It's absolute fucking farce. We need to legalize and properly control this shit so people are not being beaten to death on the streets of the fucking UK, man. What the fuck? Sorry,
well, it sounded like this burglary was they were, I don't know, if they're wrapping stuff up in bed sheets. I'm thinking, okay, they chopped the plants down whether they were ready or not. They're going to steal this stuff, go dry it and sell it because ready or not, it's mine now. So I mean, it's again another case of shit weed getting out from the black market, you know, all that kind of stuff like that. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
It is, man. It is. And as it said in that article there, this wouldn't be happening if it was properly regulated.
No, it wouldn't.
You know, I mean, gang warfare does happen. As Stonewall put there in the chat, that's just gang related. It's not related to prohibition, in my opinion. They wouldn't have this kind of market if it wasn't for prohibition. You know, they would be doing something else.
You wouldn't have the Albanian gangs competing for this grow if it was legal and everybody could do it. No, it wouldn't be a special deal anymore.
It's just shocking, man. I mean, do you get that shit in Canada, Marge?
No, we don't. Admittedly.
And it's legal over there. The Albanians aren't shooting each other?
No, not that I'm aware of anyway. But
what do you think, TG? Do you get any of this kind of trouble over there?
No, well, I don't know. Probably in some certain cases, but no, it's more just like the legal people narking on each other for not following the fucking advertising rules and shit.
It's a different kind of gang warfare.
Yeah.
Fuck capitalism.
But yeah, no.
But you know,
I don't know. I mean, the bikers, they still run a lot of shit. I know in like the West Coast and down in like the the traditional areas in the port of like Montreal and the St. Lawrence River kind of area. So probably there's still shit going on. I don't know. I'm not really up on.
There's got to be a massive reduction in it compared to what they used to be, though.
I'm sure. Yeah, you don't. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, you'd still do hear about shootings and stuff occasionally, especially in like BC. But I don't know. Again, I'm far away from that shit. So
yeah, you got 5 home growers here. You know, we don't usually do much with the legacy market.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So this is just another reason why you should be growing your own shit, man. And just try and stay away from that market altogether if you can. It's just dodgy. You have to go and put yourself in dodgy situations. You don't know where the money's going at the end of the day, who it's funding. Yeah, and it's tragic, man, that a 23-year-old guy has to be beaten to death in this way. It shouldn't have happened in the first place, man.
Although to me, it just sounds like a lesson in fuck around and finding out.
Yeah, you know that graph, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's level 8 fucking around.
Yes,
Level
I
8
have
found
seen
out.
that, bro.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
so good.
But yeah, it's a
Yeah,
shame.
it
It's a
was
shame. But still,
kind of weird in that story, you know, reading the part about, well, his sister stood up in court and was defending him in court and going like, but yeah, wasn't he breaking into a grow house and trying to steal weed? I understand.
don't
he
talk
shouldn't
that
be
way
dead.
about the dead monkey. He was
I
an upstanding
understand
pillar of the
he shouldn't be
community.
dead. He didn't deserve to die, but he wasn't a saint.
Exactly. That's it. He didn't deserve to die, man. Nobody deserves that shit. But you know, fuck around, find out, man. Don't go fucking burgling people's weed farms. And he drove 3 hours to do it as well. It's not like he was there by accident. You know, he
Yeah,
planned.
he had lots of time to think about that.
He knew the consequences when he stepped
Yeah.
inside the fucking house. That was gonna.
Sure
If
he
you
did.
got caught, you think they're gonna slap you on the wrist and send you on your way?
Well, at least he'd been convicted before of weed burglary, you know, so
Mhm,
he was a
mhm.
specialist. My
So
gosh.
let's do it again. Yeah. Well, as
When you have
Bubble
that
Hawk
kind of a
said.
job description, you're gonna have a few hazards in your life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a weed burglar. No, 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 no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Yeah, there
you know,
ain't too many homegrowners getting beaten to death, is there? Like, let's
Mhm.
be honest.
But it does happen, man. We have seen
Oh.
articles of that as well in the past. It's just crazy,
Yeah.
and this is why it's important. You grow your own, and you keep your fucking mouth shut. You know,
Nobody's gonna come to your house looking for it.
keep your mouth shut, man. Follow the
Your
three
business,
rules. Don't
nobody
tell.
else's.
Don't sell. Cover the smell. Nobody needs to know. Just do your thing. But tragic, you know. Let's try. If we can get shit regulated properly, I'm sure this wouldn't happen as much as it does. And we're just gonna keep seeing a rise in this until the law changes. So
It'd bounce, Mackie. It'd be, it'd be cocaine. It'd be
yeah, if people
the other
trafficking
one,
will be the next one. But, that's what they all go to after cannabis gets shut down. But it's a dent, and it's a reduction in it, and that's what we want to see. Stonewolf said Jim ran away. It's like, yeah, his friends ran away. Obviously, it's like, oh shit, run, and you just left your friend to get beaten to get death. Yeah, nice one, lads. But
It's like
anyway.
when you go scuba diving and you see a shark, so you stab your friend in the leg and swim off.
Yeah, it's the only way to survive.
Yeah.
That's what them Aussies
Sorry,
do.
bro.
Okay, I'm not going swimming down there in it next time.
know what I mean?
No way.
It's like they didn't hit him with the brick. His friend threw it at him. You know?
Yeah. That's it.
Yeah, Thomas. Oh shit, savage. Sorry, everybody. Don't mean to be savage. It's Bubble Hawk is encouraging me. It's very bad. But
Sorry.
yes. Moral of the story: fuck around, find out, legalize. Anyway, what should we do next? Did you want to do your new story next, March? You want to take yours?
Yeah, sure. This one you might find a little more uplifting than yours, Mackie.
Thank you.
1 in 5 people who are ditching alcohol for dry January say they're using cannabis as an alternative survey finds. And this article is chock full of interesting surveys. So please enjoy. And as somebody, I don't know about everybody listening or the rest of you guys, I am doing a dry January myself. So
Nice.
this seemed quite timely.
Conformist.
Well, yeah, maybe, but my liver is saying thank you. Thank you, Marge. So 1 in 5 people who are abstaining from alcohol as part of dry January say they're using cannabis as an alternative to help them get through the month, according to a new study. While most observers, they're saying 33% of the month-long alcohol break say they're not replacing booze with anyone or anything or anyone. 21% say that they're opting for cannabis and CBD products. This poll from Civic Science has found, and I don't know if y'all can see that, but there is a poll. Some people are using cannabis is coming in at 21%. Some people are opting for non-alcoholic, alcohol-free beverages, or 20% are also doing soda, seltzer water products, or kombucha, which I thought was kind of interesting because I thought kombucha had small amounts of alcohol in it. Correct me
I
if
think
I'm wrong,
some
but
does.
yeah,
That's hard kombucha. I think you can get it without.
right. Well, some people are using that as an alternative, so that's what some people are doing. But yeah, 21% of the people are using cannabis as an alternative. So I guess that would be sort of like California sober. But marijuana and cannabinoids are the most common alternative, with more people saying they're using substances instead of alcohol this month, which I thought was kind of interesting because they're just saying substances instead of alcohol, then opted for non-alcoholic beverages. Okay, I already went through that. Sorry. Young people are the most likely to say that they're consuming cannabis over alcohol, with 34% of those for ages 20 to 24 getting high while going dry, compared to 24% of those 25 to 34, and 22% of those 35 to 54, which would be my particular age bracket, and 9% of those 55 and older. So it seems like the youngins are the ones who are really going for the getting high while going dry. That's kind of catchy.
Gotcha.
The results of the survey, which involved interviews with 938 people from January 6th to 11th, reflect a broader substitution trend that's been identified in multiple polls and studies over recent years. As more states move to legalize cannabis, more people are choosing to use cannabis over alcohol, as well as certain prescription drugs like opioids. And part of the reason for this trend appears to be related to the perceived dangerousness of various intoxicants, with most Americans saying that they believe cannabis is safer than alcohol and tobacco, as one survey released in October found. So that means the minds are changing, in my opinion.
Finally.
Yes. A separate poll released last year also found that more Americans now openly admit that they smoke cannabis or eat cannabis-infused edibles, yay, edibles, than they've smoked cigarettes in the past week. So people are smoking fewer cigarettes, smoking more weed.
That's good.
Or eating more edibles. Yes, also good. Because the toll on that on health and the healthcare system is well known. More than twice as many Americans think that cannabis has a positive impact on consumers and society at large than say the same about alcohol, according to that Gallup survey data. And I mean, preaching to the converted here, I think we would all agree with that, but it's just interesting that more of the general public is starting to feel the same way. That's generally consistent with the results of another poll released last year, showing that more Americans think that it would be good if people switched to cannabis and drank less alcohol, compared to those who think that the substance substitution would be bad. Another federally funded survey
shows the complete opposite.
A federally funded study that was published last week also determined that people living in states that have legalized marijuana for adult use are less likely to experience alcohol use disorder compared to those in prohibitionist states, which I think we can all agree is a good thing. So and that's a federally funded study. So I don't know if that might be a step in the right direction towards getting federal legalization in the US. The substitution effect can also be observed through an economic lens. For example, Colorado and Washington State both took in more revenue from marijuana sales than either from alcohol or cigarettes in the fiscal year of 2022, according from a report in the Tax Policy Center. So it's good for tax revenues. They're finding the same in Arizona, it looks like. Massachusetts is also collecting more tax revenue from marijuana than alcohol. Illinois also saw cannabis taxes beat out booze for the first time in 2021. So it really looks like the places where it's legal, it's really starting to be noticeable. Like when they're bringing in more tax revenue for cannabis than they are for alcohol and cigarettes, I think that's pretty significant.
It is. That's the kind of stuff that they can actually, the lawmakers will start listening to that.
But is it because they're taxing cannabis more, or is cannabis being used more?
Well, that is a good point. But I feel like alcohol and cigarettes, I don't know about down there, but in Canada, they're both pretty heavily taxed as well.
Yeah.
So I think they'd be a pretty fair comparison. So advocates and stakeholders have touted these data points. Not only do they underscore the economic opportunity of legalization, but the hope is that by providing regulated access to cannabis, that means that fewer people will use more dangerous drugs like alcohol, tobacco, and certain prescription medications.
Wow, look at that line there. Few people use more dangerous drugs like alcohol, tobacco. It's like they are just accepting that cannabis is less dangerous than alcohol, tobacco, and certain prescription medications. It's like, damn.
Yeah. And there's more. About 1 in 3 chronic pain patients report using marijuana as a treatment option, and most of that group has used cannabis as a substitute for other pain medications, including opioids. And this is a recent study published by the American Medical Association.
Wow.
And another study that they did that found a state-level medical marijuana legalization is associated with significant decrease in opioid prescription and use among certain cancer patients.
Wow.
I think that's pretty much the gist of it. Let's see, there's a study released in September similarly found that giving people access to legal medical cannabis can help patients reduce their use of opioids or cease use of them altogether. And it looks like the pharmaceutical industry is taking a serious economic hit after some states have legalized. So,
Boo.
yeah. Yeah.
What a shame. What a
I know.
shame.
You know what? I feel like they'll make it up in some. We're never going to get rid of the pharmaceutical companies. There is, they do
Well,
have
there
their
there
role
was
to
some
play,
big thing released over the last couple of years that made them a fuckload of money anyway, so I'm sure they've made up for it in other
right?
ways.
Exactly. So
Mhm.
maybe they're, making a little less money on the opioids, but there's still certain things they're making money on. So
Yes, but
anyway,
we won't
I felt like
say what they are because, you choose.
that's basically the gist of this particular article. And it started out with just like people using cannabis to help get through a dry January. But I thought it was interesting because a lot of these surveys that have come out in the last year are super positive as far
Yeah, man.
as the way people are looking at cannabis in the US in particular.
Yeah, that was all good. That's a good article. That is a lot of good shit in there.
Yeah.
It seems to be cyclic in the US, the way people look at cannabis. Like we'll get a month or two here where the proponents will have a lot of good stories on it. Then all of a sudden you'll get the anti-crowd will have to come in and hit us with a bunch of negatives to kind of fight back. It's cyclic, crazy cyclic for that reason. So political.
Mm-hmm.
March is a calming voice, or am I just very high? Both, Phil. Both.
Yeah, it's both.
But yeah, that's
I
a great
think-
article, man. Very good
Yeah,
choice there,
well,
Marge. You always
I
bring us
try-
good news.
That's what I'm trying to do. You guys bring all the bad shit, so I'm trying to bring
Yeah.
some happy
My
stuff.
article wasn't so bad. It was full of justice.
Right. That's one way of looking at it.
Street justice.
Savage.
My
You know what I mean?
article's not too bad.
Well, you want to do yours, TJ? You want to move on to yours?
Yeah,
Sweet.
it's like a pretty obvious one, but it's nice that people are talking about this now. So the title is BC releases What We Heard report on cannabis consumption spaces. BC is British Columbia, for those that are unaware, the westernmost province, and generally what people think is the Kootenays are like the Mendocino County of Canada kind of thing. So, obviously out there they kind of have it together a little bit more than the rest of Canada. But yeah, this article is written by David Brown from StratCan. And it goes on to say BC has released their What We Heard report based on a 2022 survey exploring the possibility of cannabis consumption spaces. So, a bar for weed, basically.
Mm-hmm.
The survey, conducted both online and via telephone, showed high levels of support, pun not intended, for consumption spaces from cannabis consumers, as well as concerns with the potential for co-location of cannabis with alcohol and impaired driving. So that's good, high levels. In total, 61% of telephone survey respondents and 34% of online survey respondents said they supported cannabis consumption spaces. The report also notes that it's possible that the different rates of support had to do with self-selection bias, with telephone sampling being random, while online surveys could have been more targeted. Younger people were also more likely to support cannabis consumption spaces than older Canadians. Feedback from this survey will help to inform decisions by the provincial government on if it will allow cannabis consumption spaces, and if so, how this could be accomplished. While many often think of smoking or vape lounges, the province defines cannabis consumption spaces more broadly to include cannabis-specific consumption locations, consumption at festivals or other events, or even cannabis consumption in, quote, non-cannabis primary spaces. Due to laws that prevent smoking and vaping indoors, such spaces are not being considered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
this is something because smoking indoors is illegal here in the UK. So it just makes things difficult when it comes to opening coffee shops. I know we're not legal here yet, but it'll happen eventually. And then we will want consumption lounges, and that's going to make things difficult. Sorry,
There are loopholes though. I mean, I don't know if you have them in the UK, but we have cigar bars or cigar lounges here that you actually can go buy a cigar and sit in the cigar lounge and smoke your cigar. So, I mean, by thinking about that, substitute tobacco for cannabis, and that's basically what we're looking for. A place you can go buy good cannabis and then enjoy it at the same place.
Yeah.
So what's
I agree.
the big deal there? You know, I
Mhm.
mean, if we can do it with cigars, why can't we do this with cannabis?
Yeah, and everybody's a willing participant. It's just that you'd have to have the staff area somewhere else where you can't smoke around the staff. Then that would be fair, you know. And then you go in some places in Amsterdam. I think the Bulldog Cafe is one of the places they have like sealed off rooms where people go in
Yeah.
there to consume cannabis. And some of those places, because you know a lot of British people go there. British people mix tobacco with their ganja, and usually, you know, not all of them, but a lot of them do. So there needs to be a separate place for tobacco smokers and cannabis and weed smokers, and they're all
Yeah.
divided up like that. So there's a way out of it. Sorry, TG.
No, that's all good points. Yeah. So BC sought public feedback earlier last year on what cannabis consumption spaces might look like in the province. Health and safety are our utmost priorities as we consider how provincial cannabis policies could evolve. Mike Farnworth, Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General, said. This report provides valuable insights into the people in BC's perspective on cannabis and will help guide our work to support a strong, diverse, and safe legal cannabis sector across the province. Most survey respondents who said they use cannabis also said they were in support of consumption spaces, as were cannabis retailers, producers, and industry associations who provided written submissions, which makes sense. Like, it's the kind of the biggest thing here in Canada, in my opinion, that is missing in terms of, you know, you come here as a tourist thing, or even, and you buy your stuff, and you know, certain provinces you can walk around in the public and smoke it, but it's like that's not ideal. And in certain places, like in my home province in Saskatchewan, you can't do that. So you buy it, and hopefully you have a friend you can go to their private property that they've said you can smoke it and smoke it there. But you know, you can smoke it, and like nobody gives a shit. But again, it's like, as a tourist, you don't just come to another country generally and be like, fuck the laws kind of thing, right? Like,
You don't?
some people do, but like,
No, that makes
it's
sense.
like,
It does.
it's a
You
bit
don't get
more.
many Americans over there, do you?
Yeah,
You know?
well,
Yeah.
true. I know what you mean, but like with
America.
drug laws, it's like
Yeah, we do
generally
what we
people
want.
are kind of careful, kind of. I don't know, maybe not here. I don't know. Maybe
No,
I'm.
I understand what you're saying, because same thing happens when we go to neighboring states that are recreationally legal. You can't
Yeah.
have a consumption space. So at night, if I want to go smoke a joint before I go to bed, it's literally take the joint, walk around the block, two or
Yeah.
3 blocks, and smoke it while you're walking, passing
Yeah.
it very clandestinely back and forth to each other. Not that we're worried about getting arrested and going to jail. We're trying not to offend anyone,
Mhm.
Yeah.
but
It's
it's the only
just-
option we have.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I don't remember where I was and why I started talking about something else there. Okay. Non-cannabis consumers, as well as some public health and safety organizations, however, and local governments, were overall not supportive of such spaces. In total, 730 people took part in the telephone survey, while 15,362 people completed the online survey, and 66 individuals and businesses and organizations provided written submissions. So 730, BC is a big province. That's not very many people. I always like hate, you know, the small sample size of these things that then represent the entire population. But because I've never been surveyed, and I can tell you what I would say about this shit, you know. So
I think we could
exploring the
all-
feasibility. Oh, sorry.
So we could all tell you what you think about this shit.
I mean, yeah, my property is a cannabis consumption space. So
Yes.
exploring the feasibility of cannabis consumption spaces is another way BC is working to support the success of the industry, said Brittany Anderson, Parliamentary Secretary for Tourism. With the recent introduction of a license for farm gate sales, the understanding public opinion on cannabis-related hospitality and agritourism activities is a practical next step. Feedback in this report will play an important role in the development of provincial policies. And then just quickly, there's just a bit about co-location with alcohol. Being able to purchase and consume cannabis products like edibles and beverages in locations where alcohol is also sold and consumed was a contentious subject. Among those who responded to the telephone survey, 42% had supported such a model, while 41% opposed. In the online survey, 64% opposed, while only 32% supported it. And those who use cannabis were more likely to support co-location. Concerns with dual consumption and intoxication were among the chief concerns from public health officials who opposed the co-location model, while most cannabis industry affiliated organizations were supportive of co-location. There's no expected timeline for the province's next steps on any possible regulations on these cannabis consumption spaces, and the full report is available at that link at the end of the story. Yep. So with booze, like I think I'm all about, leaving it up to everybody to be responsible, but if you've ever been to the bar, people generally don't, well, I don't know, don't be alcohol kind of doesn't entail responsibility in a lot of the cases. So I personally don't like being around, people who are just destroyed drunk, and you don't have, that doesn't imply if there's booze there, you're going to get shit faced, but drinking booze and smoking weed is it's not I don't recommend it personally. The effects are not great.
Mixing the two together, that's seriously fucking
and again, just the being around the booze environment and the weed environment, they're not really the same kind of thing. I don't know.
Special events like they're talking about, I can understand the co-location with
well,
alcohol
that kind of thing. I guess I'm thinking more of a store or something. Yeah, for
Right.
sure.
Yeah, because it'd be nice to give options to people for both. It'd be interesting to see which performed better.
Really?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it would be interesting to have, you go to we have a Dragon Boat Festival or something down by the river here, and there's the beer gardens, and then have another tent with the weed gardens. How would those crowds interact and stuff? I don't know.
Which is interesting that you mentioned
The music
Dragon
would be
Boat,
different,
'cause-
don't you think?
Yeah, because
Yeah,
Dragon Boat's for cancer, right? And
well,
pretty
maybe
carcinogenic.
I don't know why I said Dragon Boat. We do have that festival, but I don't think there's beer gardens there actually. So
okay.
maybe there is.
Alcohol
Maybe.
is
Some kind of festival down
Yeah.
by some place that's good.
And just to make sure that everybody knows what we're talking about, they're having one beer and a joint. That's cool. You can chill out nicely. Nice little vibe off that. But if you go out on the town, get wasted, and you stumble back into your house and you're really drunk, and then you roll up a fat spliff and smoke that, you're probably gonna be sick. All right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Fall asleep in recovery position, just in case.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not ideal.
I don't know.
Be-
'cause
It's
we
funny
can
you
all
say
agree
that.
we're okay, but we all know that probably there's going to be that guy, and when that guy does come in, what is the appropriate measures that should or should not be taken, and should we should weed people have to deal with that, or wanted I don't know.
True.
I just it's a fairly new conversation, I suppose, that I really haven't thought too much about, but
very true. It's like if somebody turns into a bar and they're too drunk, the bar can turn them away and be like, sorry, you've drank too much. Can a cannabis consuming lounge do the same thing? What was you going to say, Marge? Sorry, you were going to say something.
Oh yeah, I was just
cut you off.
something about one beer and a spliff isn't such a bad thing, and then it just so happened Greenbeard put in the chat that he's headed to the pub now for Guinness and a spliff, so it was just a
common thing.
I do that too. Out in the backyard barbecuing, I'll crack a beer and be ripping fucking bong the entire time.
Yeah, usually it's the one beer and you put it down because you've had enough of it at the end of the day.
Exactly. I'm the type of person I can't drink more than maybe two, because my stomach is fucked, and I just don't like being drunk, really. So
I like the taste of the beer with a joint. I don't know. The taste is enhanced by the cannabis. So I enjoy a good, high quality, flavorful beer with a joint. No problem.
There was this wheat beer which I used to drink called Left, and it's real nice. Well, it was real nice, and I used to drink it with a joint all the time, and it's fucking delicious, man. They both went together really well. And then when I quit smoking, like a couple of weeks after I quit smoking, I went out, got some Left. I thought I'd drink myself some of this good shit, which I enjoy. And it fucking tasted like shoes, man. It just was not the same. You needed the joint to go with it to make it taste the way I enjoyed it. Without a spliff, there was no way I was drinking that shit. It was nasty.
Hops and cannabis are related, so maybe that's part of the reason they go well together.
That's right. Just be careful with your consumption. Don't take the piss.
Comes down.
But
Comes
we have
down to
places
common
here.
sense.
We have places down here like hookah bars, and why the hell couldn't you have cannabis in the same situation?
Right.
Yeah. I'd love to play a pinball bar, or video game bars. We have those shit here, and rip fucking joints, play Mario Kart and
You know what I'm
pinball.
saying? That'd be fucking
Fucking
cool,
epic.
man. Nice.
Yeah.
Or bowling. Bowling
Yeah.
would be good because
Bowling with a
anything, man.
bowl. Yeah.
Bowling though, yeah.
Fuck yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
This
Fucking
all
Big
sounds
Bowling,
like
Lebowski.
bowling.
like a Las Vegas consumption lounge or something as I'm hearing here, bowling and pinball and everything else.
Sounds
Get
like
a
a
big
Will
fan,
Ferrell movie or
yeah,
something.
Suck it all at the top.
Yeah.
Just not darts and axes, maybe. I don't know.
Hmm,
No axe throwing.
Yeah.
But we do have one more story we should move on to, and that's from Bubble Hawk way down under, and it's another good story, right?
Well, maybe not for cannabis consumers.
Mhm, mhm.
So this one comes out of Queensland. So Queensland Labor members call for adult use legalisation, but party leaders remain unmoved. Members of Queensland's Labor Party have called for the legalisation of recreational cannabis, but the state government remains opposed to the move. Brisbane's Times reported members decided to update policy platform at the party state conference late last year, but only finalised and released the details recently. As well as legalising small quantities of cannabis for personal use, the document urged the Labor government to adopt a harm reduction approach to drug use in the state and undertake a full review of its law enforcement strategy. However, the government said it has no plans to act on any of the suggested forms. Surprise, surprise. While all party members are able to vote on the policy platform, it is not binding on the government to implement it when in power.
Democracy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we don't call it. Yeah,
Fucking
This
ridiculous,
is-
man.
that's what I
The
call
thing is, the thing with this sort of, and the reason I picked this one, and I know it's quite short, but at the end of the day, this is what's been happening consistently across the board down here. Is the government comes out and goes, oh, we're gonna do an in-depth investigation into it. We're gonna do a massive study, and then we'll go from there once we get recommendations. They get all these recommendations and they're like, oh, no.
You know, don't
No,
listen
we
anyway.
won't be
It's
doing
like,
any
what's
of
the
that.
fucking
Yeah.
point? Ridiculous, man.
Yeah. So I think it's just that's why it's not just Queensland. We've seen it in New South Wales, seen it in Victoria. I think I covered one last year about it happening in WA as well. So
Well, we've seen similar shit in the
unfortunately,
UK as well, mate, where they tell the government that, this should be classified at a different class of drugs. And they were like, oh, we don't like what you say. You're fired.
yeah, we'll just find someone who'll sell us what we want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So which is sad, as considering all the headway we've made so far.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, look, I mean, New South Wales has an election coming up, and since the current incumbent leader had a story come out about him wearing a Nazi uniform at his 21st birthday party, we're not expecting him to get in again. So look, and we've got we've had a big push this year with the Cannabis Australia party. So we'll see what happens. But I think we need people to obviously get up, get out, and do their thing, and we'll see.
The struggle is real,
all-
man. The struggle is real.
Yeah. Still, it's 2023, and it's still the same old shit. I'm sorry, guys. Is what it is, unfortunately.
Indeed. But, good things for high and homegrown are happening here in 2023. Been on a good grind. We'll cover some forum news here. I've been on the grind, getting loads of cool ass interviews in for everybody. So I'll tell you which ones we've got coming up in a second. But as you might know, next week we have the episode about worm farming, and we're going to discuss building worm farms and how to maintain a worm farm and things like that. A few months ago, back in 2022, we had Captain Matt from Captain Matt's Worms, a YouTube channel. Really nice guy. He's from New York, got shitloads of worms, runs a massive worm farm. He was on the show. And I reached out to him and said, next week we're going to do an episode about worm farming. Would you be able to join us? And he was like, fuck yeah. So next week on the Grow Guide section of next week's show, he's going to be joining us specifically to talk with us about worm farming and shit like that. So that's going to be super cool, man. Looking forward to speaking to Captain Matt again. So just so you all know, make sure you join us next week because Captain Matt's going to be here with us as well. Not for the news, just for the Grow Guides. So yeah, man, it's very cool. And he was very happy as well. He's got some courses coming up very soon, which you're going to be able to go and sign up to his website and learn some stuff via a course. And it'll tell us more about that soon. It's not really up and running yet, but it will be soon. And when it does get fully up and running, we'll get him on for an interview so we can find out all about it. But next week, Worm Farms, everybody, come and join us. And then
He's such a positive person. Sorry.
oh yeah, he's a real nice guy, man. Real nice guy. He's got like 3 million worms.
Yeah.
So
But every
yeah.
time we've talked to him, or the last time we talked to him, it's just everything he was saying. You know, you could tell he was just the life of the party. No matter where he'd be, no matter what he was talking about, it was just passion.
Yeah, because I seen his YouTube channel because we have worms and we learn stuff from him, and it was like I should message him, but this old fella he's probably not really into the cannabis. And then when I messaged him, it's like, yeah, I got a few plants in my garden and shit. Like, oh, right, that's cool. So yeah, man, real cool guy, down to earth. Everybody loves Captain Matt. So make sure you join us for next week's Grow Guys to come and chat with him, everybody. And then for the interviews, we have a list here for you, everybody. And if you are a patron or a YouTube member, then you'll be able to watch these interviews live. But they will all be sent out for download as well. You're going to be able to download all of these episodes in the near future. We have Tad Hassey coming along on the 17th, and he's going to be talking about Kiss Organics in general, but also his Dope History podcast. So Chad Westport will also be joining us for the later half of that interview. It will be Tad for a while first, and then it will be Chad and Tad coming to talk about the Dope History podcast, which they've recently released. And there are episodes out there now, so you can go find them and download them if you wanted to. We also have the High Ladies. They have a new season on their podcast, so they're coming to talk about that on the 19th of January. So, we'd like to get other podcasters on here. It's like a big community. We like to share the listeners. So everybody go and check out Tad's podcast and the High Ladies podcast if you haven't done that already. Then, as some of you might know, in Ireland, Gino Kenny has recently released his bill. So on the 24th of January, Gino Kenny is coming back onto the show to let us know what's in the bill, what it's all about, what he expects to be happening with the bill in the near future. So we're going to get all the information from Gino himself. Then on the 26th, we have Queen of the Sun, who is the other half of Jordan Rivers' Soil Masterclass. And they go around the USA doing classes on soil and how to build your own soil, how to make your soil healthy, all that kind of stuff. And she's coming to join us on the 26th. Then Jorge Cervantes is coming back on January 31st. Where we're going to talk about his book, how well his book is doing, and just have a general conversation with Jorge. This is what we do. Just sit down, session with Jorge Cervantes. We do enjoy it. So he's coming on the 31st. Tommy Chong needs no introduction. We all know Tommy Chong. He's coming on the 3rd of February. Excuse me. And then we have Daniel McQueen, who is an author about psychedelic cannabis. He's coming on the 7th of February. And on the 9th of February, remember Lizzie Post, everybody? About the book, the cannabis etiquette and things like that. She came on the show.
Absolutely remember Lizzie, yes.
She's coming back on the 9th of February to come and tell us about the update to her etiquette book, because she's the great-great-granddaughter of Emily Post, who wrote a book about etiquette. And now they've added a new section about cannabis etiquette into that book, which Lizzie wrote. So we're going to be speaking to Lizzie about the update of the book. And she was a super cool guest, yes.
You don't want to miss that one. That's a good one.
And then
they're all good, though. They're
good. We've got some good ass interviews lined up, man.
Every one of them, they're like, what am I saying? They're all damn good.
And then the last one we have lined up right now, but there is more coming, so stay tuned, everybody. We have Nikki and Swami are coming back to speak to us on the 28th of February. That's at the end of the month. So lots and lots going on, everybody. Yeah. So, and there's going to be more as well. There's a big interview which we've been trying to line up for a long time now. You know who it is with, everybody. If you listen to this show regularly, you know who it is with. And I had an email from him at the end of last week. It was like on Friday. It's like, okay, Percy, let's do this next week. 10 a.m. good for you? I'm like, yeah, 10 a.m. is cool. So, but I don't have a day yet. As soon as I have a day, it's done. Sometime next week, 10 a.m. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care what time it is. I'm not arguing. 10 a.m.'s fine, bro. What day? So as soon as he comes back to me and he tells me what day it is, that interview's going to go up live. So make sure you have the notifications set and make sure you keep an eye on all the sections, because hopefully that big interview we've been talking about for a long time is going to be happening next week. So I think that's everything. I need a drink now. My throat's all dry after all that ranting and talking about all them interviews. God damn. Anything else to add here? Any more news? Marge, any news to share about Bite Me? Anything to add?
No, I'm just always. Well, actually, I do have a couple secret projects I'm working on, but I'm not
Ooh.
ready really to talk about them yet. But
They're
as always,
secret.
new episodes come out every Thursday on your favorite podcast platform, so check it out.
Mm-hmm. And of course, if you are a listener of High and Homegrown, you should also be a listener of Bite Me. So make sure you go and support
Yes.
Margie's podcast and subscribe, download those episodes. What about you, TG? Anything over on Temple Growing? Got anything going on?
Not really, no. Just looking through some seeds and genetics right now.
You had some new seeds come in this week, didn't you?
I popped some new seeds from I'm doing some Sunshine Pilgrim from White Buffalo seeds.
Mhm.
They're kind of a boutique haze centric breeders out of Canada here. I highly recommend if anybody's interested in that line of things to check them out. But yeah, I'm super pumped for to see what's in these
Sweet.
beans.
Oh yeah, and I'm doing more updates to the highonhomegrown.com website. You can go there and download loads of interviews now, all on one page. So just head there, go to the interviews page, and you'll see all of the interviews. You can just click there and download them all from iTunes or Spotify. And I'm also doing that for the Grow Guides as well. So go and check that out. It's going to take me a few more days to do that whole section of the Grow Guides because there's so many of them and it needs a little bit more writing. But that should be done within the next week as well. So it's going to be fully updated on the High and Homegrown website. So check that shit out too. But that is everything, isn't it? Mrs. M just bought me in coffee. So she must have heard me dying of choke. His throat sounds dry. Let me bring him caffeinated beverage. Delicious. Cool then. Let's chill for 10 minutes and do the 420 thing. Do it.
All right.
Oh, neat.
BRB.
Sweet. Oof. Yes, Noxie said there. Cannot wait for that longer-awaited interview. You know what I mean? Noxie, like, for real, bro. I've been trying to get this interview going for 18 months, bro. Step by step. Just waiting
Well,
patiently.
It ain't here yet. You know what I'm saying?
That's it. It's not here yet. But
With
hopefully
this
next
one,
week.
This one, you don't want to count it till it's actually recorded in the can. 'Cause, oh man, it's so elusive. So elusive.
You know, and then he's probably going to show up. We're going to forget to press record, man.
Yeah, well, you realize, you know, I told you I'll try and make it, even though that's going to be ungodly early for me. I'll try to make it, but you know, he's probably going to message you 10 minutes before the. Oh yeah, okay, it's almost 10 o'clock. You want to do it? And it's like, no, Monkey will be out of the picture at that point.
That's right. Everybody
else will be completely out of pocket, and you'll do it on your own. That's it. You know.
Martin 420 said, "Who's the interview with?"
Oh, that's you're gonna have to sit down and wait on this.
No, we can tell him. I mean, you should
No,
know.
no,
We've been
no,
going
no,
to.
no. No, because we don't. It hasn't happened yet. We don't really know what's going on.
Savage.
Don't you go jinxing it now.
I've spoken about it many times in the past. There,
Yeah,
Martin.
he has spoken about it many times, but you know what? Mackie cannot keep a secret. He's gonna let it out before it happens. But right now, we'll challenge him to keep it a secret just a little bit longer.
Okay, I'll hold off. But if you go
Hold
back
off,
and check
'cause
on old episodes, you'll find out somewhere.
He wants to say it so bad. You want to give him initials, don't you?
Yes. I mean, nobody say anything in chat because I know many of you know out there, but you know, just try and keep the lid on. Just add suspense to it, everybody. You know what I mean? Dr. Greenson said Belushi. Nope. And now it doesn't mean that you can put names up, and I'll keep saying no. Kanye, you got it, Gellert, in one.
It's ye.
It's yay.
Yay!
Yeah, Kanye
gosh.
said he'll only come on if he's allowed to wear a stocking.
Oh.
That's it.
Oh gosh, he's a strange guy. Apparently, he's a genius.
Yeah, well,
You know, it's like
you got to give him credit.
I've
gotta
tried
give him
listening to
credit.
his music a lot recently because everybody goes on because he's said loads of stupid things, and everyone's like, "Yeah, but he's a genius. He's really good with music." So I'm like, you know what? If he can do this kind of shit, and then people can still say he's a genius because of his music, I'm gonna have to listen to his fucking music. So I've loaded up loads of playlists on YouTube, and I sit there, you know, just working on shit, making pictures, and just doing the random shit I have to do. And sometimes I have Kanye playing in the background, and some of it's okay. It's okay, but I think I've already been tainted by how much of a dickhead Kanye is. You know, so I'm listening to his music and I'm like, it's okay, but he's a dick, you know. So it just sounds like a dick. Even in his music, it just sounds like Kanye's voice. You know what I mean? He's like, God damn.
So Mackey's saying it's okay for a dickhead.
Yeah, it's okay for a dickhead. Yeah. I more prefer my old school rap. You know, my hip hop from back in the 90s, man, the early 2000s. That's my kind of shit right there.
We know your favorites. We've heard it before.
My boy asked me the other day. He said, "What's your favorite genre of music?"
Oh,
I'm like, God damn, it's a different because
there is no favorite. That's
yeah.
like you can't do that. You know, there's two kinds of music: music you like, music you don't like. You can't throw genres at it.
Man, it's classic rock is like a big one because I fucking love classic rock, you know. But you have to be in the right mood for it. But hip hop, I can listen to it anytime, man. You put some Snoop on, some Last Meal. I love that fucking album, man. Some Dre, some Tupac. Obviously, you all know I'm a big fucking Tupac fan.
That's the one I was gonna say. We've already heard that one.
That's essentially where the name Mackie comes from. Machiavelli the Don, man. Tupac. You know what I'm saying? Fucking love Tupac. He was a prophet of our generation, man.
Like I love hip hop. I'll listen to the shit out of it. But if I'm just sitting down and I pick a playlist, it's always going to be metal.
Right.
Always metal.
What about Norwegian pop? You know, Norwegian versions of YMCA. If you don't want to check that out, god damn.
Ancient Gregorian chants. Huh? Yeah, that kind of stuff. Right.
That's it.
It's so
Still
bad.
Mongolian throat singing.
Oh yeah. Sounds like Arnie on fucking Total Recall.
Yeah. I will say there's a band, I can't remember what their name is, but they're a metal band out of Mongolia and they mix up the throat singing with it and it sounds rad.
God.
I love it.
Oh man, what about Yoko Ono? Have you seen there's a video with Chuck Berry, John Lennon, and Yoko Ono. They're playing on the band on stage. And they muted Yoko's fucking microphone because she was just wailing over the mic. And Chuck Berry's face when she starts wailing is like, what the fuck is that sound? I'd love to show you all these videos, but we'll get fucking flagged for copyright. So, you know, go and check that shit out, man. Chuck Berry, Yoko Ono, and you'll definitely find the video I'm talking about. And you'll see his face like, what the fuck? But then they cut her mic because she's just... It's fucking hilarious. Oh god, I find random shit on YouTube. I don't know. YouTube just blesses me with these random links. God damn. I want you to draw me, Jack. It's still one of my favorites. Oh shit.
It's too easy to get trapped in that fucking reel hole, isn't it? When you're sitting there and you're scrolling through.
I'm tired of being treated like a delicate flower.
I'm a paying customer. Yeah, man. I love the Arnie deepfakes. And they're everywhere right now. There's loads of different Arnie deepfakes, man. So you gotta check them out, everybody. But yeah, fucking YouTube reels and Instagram reels and YouTube shorts there. I made a YouTube short this week as well, everybody, if you didn't notice yet. We took that bit where we were talking about them dodgy TV channels at 2 o'clock in the morning from last week's show. Made a little YouTube short of that. And TG got told off for worshipping the devil. Are you there, TG? No, he's not here right now. But yeah, somebody was like, what's with all this devilish stuff in the background talking about TG's logos? God damn. Funny. So yeah, it's been an eventful week. Done a lot of shit this week. So, and all the episodes are getting divided up. Divide the news stories up and put them up as separate videos and shit. Building up the High and Homegrown page. So, Bubble?
Four Plants, Austrian Death Machine is a metal band with Arnie clips in it. Now you've got my attention.
Yeah, you know, link us up, bro. On the Discord. Go to the Discord. Link us on the Discord, man. Yeah, we got to see that.
Yeah.
Damn. It's not a tumor.
Oh, Lord.
Funny shit. Yes, it's only 2 minutes to 4:20 here as well, everybody. So make sure you get shit rolled and you're ready to go.
Did I tell you I had a win over Christmas and New Year's? I had a family member. So I had a family member that's been staunchly against cannabis for as long. Like, I mean, they they've used cannabis in the past, but as far as recent years, like the last 3 decades, has been no, devil's lettuce, don't touch it, just makes you an idiot. No. Anyway, my we're sitting down for having like a barbecue, and I've just brought out half a gummy and stuck it on my plate, so I could have my gummy, then have my meal, and then
I just
we're
imagine
all
this
good.
big plate, knife and fork, and half a gummy on it.
Yeah, pretty much. It was just on the side of the plate, ready for the rest of the barbecue, And he questioned it, wondered what it was, and I told him what it was, and and he'd been having issues with sleep. I'm like, look, I'll give you a little bit off the corner, a
Check
little bit
his
off
leg,
the corner. You'll be fine. Yeah, just a nibble on the ear. It'll be okay. So gave him a little bit of that. Probably, I'd say about an hour and a half later, fucking fried, absolutely fried. and I'm sitting there getting worried because I'm thinking, fuck, I might have given him a bit too much, like at this point. But yeah, then I trundled off, did his thing, trundled off to bed. Gets up in the morning and he comes over and he's like, mate, I'm gonna have to get that recipe off you because that was one of the best fucking sleeps I've had in years. I'm like, "Yep,
Nice.
perfect." So
Nice. And
yeah,
I
that's
think
a win.
you might have got that story down to a minute, so I can turn that into a short. Yes.
can ya?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. If it's under a minute, I should be able to. And that's a nice little short story, that is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, there's all
Brilliant.
sorts of fucking stupid rules to the shorts. It has to be the other way around, not like 1920 by 1080, like it is now on YouTube. It has to be 1080 by 1920. And then it has to be less than a minute long, and you have to hashtag shorts in it, in the title and in the description, so YouTube knows. And then it goes up as a short. So all these different things, you match all the criteria, then you have yourself a short. Crazy.
Sweet.
So yeah, I might be able to do it. Cross your fingers, everybody. Cross your fingers. And if 420 has passed, so smoke.
Whoa, let's fire up this Dr. Dabber.
Oh, I switched to TG's crystal and entity. Tell you what, this stuff can really wreck you really fast. That's some strong stuff.
Nice. Well, March is back, and we have
Yes,
TG.
Walk around with
Everybody's
genetics.
back. Sweet.
Actually, I do. That was a complete accident. So I chalk it up to serendipity on that one.
Nice. So everybody's back. We've only just passed the 420, so we're waiting for everybody to get high before we move on, though. So make sure you're smoking your shit there, everybody. It's nearly time. It's nearly time to talk about soil. And an interesting
Dirt.
topic as well. Soil. Oh, you can't call it dirt.
Oh, really?
Hashtag don't call it dirt, man.
Mud.
Hashtag.
Yeah, don't do that.
Oh,
Dirt is dirty. Soil is
Mud is muddy.
Soil is
Beautiful.
life-giving.
Soil is soily.
Yeah.
Oh, damn, that's tasty.
Dirt's what you sweep up with a fucking,
Dirt devil. Yeah.
what are those things called? Broom.
A broom. Yeah, come on.
Those things, yeah.
That's spade and broom.
Yeah, fucking broom.
Sweet then. Are we ready? Is everybody back and ready to move on to the next section then? Make sure you hit that like button, everybody, if you haven't done that yet. Just hit that shit. And I think we're ready to go. No objections? Any objections?
Make
Speak
it
now or forever
happen.
hold your peace and all that shit. Right, let's do it. Let's do it. So this is actually episode 50 for the Grow Guides. We've had 50 different episodes where we've taken you from the very beginning, from planning your grow to equipment, nutrients, how to pop your seeds, going through the whole grow cycle, all different mediums. We've done everything you need to know about growing cannabis so far. So we're going into more detail about certain little bits of different topics to make sure that you're more fully informed on these different things in case you want to go into more detail. And one of the big important things that we would like to cover is building your own soil, because this is a great way to build your own soil. You stick it in your pots. Maybe it doesn't need feeding for the whole grow. It's got loads of microbes in it, loads of nutrients in it. It's made specifically for your plants in your grow room. And it can sound complex, but really it isn't. And TG knows all about this shit. So he's going to help us go all the way through it and tell you about all the different ingredients you need, what you need to do to mix them together, how much of each ingredient you need to mix together, all that kind of shit. So this is all about TG now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well,
and where do we even start? I mean, there's two different types of the soil which we're going to be talking about. I mean, there's super soil and living
Yeah.
soil. Do you want to explain the
Yeah.
difference between the two of those, TG?
Well, we could just step back maybe a teeny half step back further before we do that, and
Okay.
just like the way I like to think, just like soil is a oft thrown around term. It's a pretty general blanket term that can mean a lot of things depending on who's saying it in what context. But the generalist, the most I guess the scientific definition of soil is just soil is a combination of minerals, organic material, microbial activity via the microbes that live in there. So it has to have some life, and as well as like air and oxygen and kind of stuff. So, but that definition doesn't really apply to what we're going to be talking about, because in the cannabis sphere, we have like, I like to think of shit on a sliding scale from like inert, essentially, from you think about like DWC, deep water culture, where there is no medium, essentially, where you move to the right, if you're thinking of a left to the right line kind of sliding scale, then you get into like cocoa and stuff, which is it's a material, but it doesn't have anything in
A
it.
soilless medium.
Exactly.
Pro, what about pro mix? Same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, any of that, even peat, people
Yeah.
can grow in perlite, anything that's not doesn't have anything in it, it's just completely inert, and you, the grower, are in full control of what's being put in or not put into it to feed your plant. Move a little bit further, you get kind of into like, I would say, like the organic aspect of shit, where like fish emulsion and stuff, where it's not quite as like precise maybe as using canna A and B with a bit of PK, with those kinds of things. And this is how I started growing, with like just regular old inert potting soil from the garden store, and using like a full spectrum fish kind of with kelp and stuff, a 3-2-5 mix essentially. So again, it's not quite as like precise. And then you go even further, which is where I'm at now, into the super soil. There's a couple like subversions or sub definitions when you get into super soil, in my opinion. And again, full disclosure, this is all just what I think. It's not really based on, like, I guess I do read stuff, and I've my recipe is based on a few different people's that I combined, but essentially, this is just what I think. So take it with a grain of salt, of course. But super soil to me is a soil or a medium that you can plant something in. It doesn't have to be cannabis, but a plant can grow in without too much intervention from the grower. So it has like everything kind of built in for the most part. My soil is I like to call it microbially fortified super soil. So you can do super soil without microbes. You can have like bone meal and blood meal and all the different stuff. If you think of it like baking a cake, right? You can eat a cake without certain ingredients, but certain other ingredients really, really make it fucking good, right? And that's the microbes, I guess, in that line of thought. And then you can go even further, which to me is the very pinnacle of, like, at least in the indoor, you can't really match Mother Nature. Like, I don't care who you are, building your own living soil and stimulating the microbes and stuff, Mother Nature will never be second, to the indoor horticulturalist. So that's the best, obviously, outdoor in nice fertile soil that's there. But living soil is something that can be perpetually, you're relying on the microbes essentially to create food for the plant, more or less, more than you're relying on the amendments in the soil to provide food to the plant. You're feeding the microbes, who then feed the plant. Where in my case, with my super soil, I directly feed the plant with some assistance from the microbes, if that makes sense. So that's a long drawn out definition, but that's what I kind of think of as super soil when I'm, thinking of what I have, and when I see other people's super soil and stuff like that. So yeah. How's that?
Yeah, confusing.
Yeah.
So essentially, why would you use this soil over, say, a bag of soil? You just go to the shop and you get yourself you go to your Canadian Target. What's it called? Canadian Tire. That's the one, right?
Yeah.
You head
Canadian
there,
Tire, yeah.
get yourself some
Canadian Tire.
get yourself some soil in the bag. Why would
Sure.
you not use that? Why would you prefer to build your own soil? Why do you build your own soil rather than using that?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of reasons. The one you hear probably most is like assuming you're using organic inputs and trying to like, I like to think I'm trying to mimic Mother Nature as best as I can in a very like awful, horrible way, as best, because I'm a human indoors. But that's the intention, is to try and replicate Mother Nature in your tent. But the reason I did it, in the beginning was because I used to work up north as a geologist looking for uranium and stuff. And Cheryl, my partner, is not super green thumb. She's like a chemist, but not super intuitive with the plants. So she could measure out the shit, but so my solution was just to build this thing that she could just add water to for 3 weeks when I was away, and nothing bad would happen. And so I did a bunch of reading, and most of my recipe comes from a combination of Subcool, Vic High, and Tom Hill. They're kind of recipes that are all available in Jorge Cervantes' Cannabis Encyclopedia, big purple book. And so I blended them all together and kind of made something that had the right proportions of nutrients and everything to grow for the general period that I tend to grow, which is about 100 to 120 days for a total cycle to be done. And found local inputs, because I'm not going to be ordering shit from far away and paying expensive shipping and stuff. I'm super lazy, and I prefer to the whole carbon footprint aspect of it is important, because my recipe, for example, has locally, like, I make my own compost that I put in it, so there's not any burning of fossil fuel shit that's involved with with that. So you can do that in a lot of different ways. If you have like chickens and stuff, make your own chicken manure and find local farmers and blah blah blah, which we'll get into in a bit when we get into the ingredient part. But so there's an environmental aspect to it, I think, is like, you could argue if you did source your ingredients properly, it would probably be better than bottled nutrients in terms of that. And a lot of people say it tastes better, when you grow quote unquote organically. There's that whole argument where, is that better than traditional?
Yeah, that seems to
I
be
don't
something
know.
to do with the microbes, isn't it? And bacteria seems to help the trichomes grow a particular way, and the terpenes develop in a particular way. That's an
Yeah,
interesting
I
topic, man.
completely believe that. And whether or not one's better than the other, I don't think is a winnable argument, because better means something different to everyone, right? So, but like all the other stuff, if you're like growing your own shit and like your inputs and stuff, making compost and things like this, then probably you could argue that yours is like better for the environment. But so there's a lot of different reasons, but for me it was just because I needed something that was easy, basically. And
so essentially
water.
what you're doing is you get in a soil and you're loading it with all of the nutrients the plant's gonna need throughout its whole life cycle, and you're loading that soil with all of those nutrients, so you don't have to give it anything but water
100%.
throughout the whole grow. And sometimes microbes will be used because that will help break down what's inside of the medium and make it more plant available to the plants.
Yeah,
and that's the
it's
difference
not
between
quite
living and soil. Like super soil is just loaded with the newts, and the plant will take it as it needs it, and then living soil
right.
is like the bacteria would make the get the nutrients from the soil and feed it to the plant, essentially.
Yeah, the ingredients that you're using are like slow release, non-burning type things that that are traditionally they're traditional horticultural ingredients that I use in mine. It's nothing like special.
Yeah.
But it grows good plants. Just like I'm growing some peppers and some basil right now, and it also works for other plants.
Do you ever need to feed your plants more? Like, does the soil get it from germination to harvest without using nutrients?
It's a good question, and I would say it varies. because all plants don't eat the same, right? Some eat a lot less, some eat a lot more. Occasionally, I do run into problems with deficiencies. Mostly, it's because it's my fault, though. To be honest, I run them too long. But if you use a bigger pot, then you wouldn't run out. I don't know why I'm so cheap. Usually, I'm like, oh yeah, 1.5 gallon. That'll be enough. And then, like 4 weeks into flower, they start fading, and I'm like, fuck, like, why didn't I just put it in a goddamn three gallon and only fill it, 2 gallon or whatever. Anyway, so it depends on the plant, and again, in my case, I tend to just like veg shit out way too long and then get them way too big. But yeah, the idea is very generally with my recipe that I think it's on Percy's. If you go there, it's up there. But it's what do I have? Like, it's about a 40-day veg. So like when you put the seed in it, you have about 40 to 50 days, I would say. 50 is like really kind of pushing it, of vegging before you can flip it. And then on a typical kind of 8 to 9 week flowering plant, which most are these days, maybe you're getting into maybe there's a lot more 9s and 10s these now, but between 9 and 10 or 8 and 10 weeks, generally, again, it really depends on the cultivar. That's usually enough to get it through to have a nice fade and have pretty depleted soil by the end of things. So that was always my plan.
So where do you start, man? What ingredients do you need to build this soil?
Yeah. Well, I think the most important thing is you need a base, the inert part, because like most of this is not food, right? If it was all food, that'd be way too hot and it would kill your shit if you just try to grow it in bone meal. So most of it is, I use local, well, not in the local, it comes from Lower Mainland in BC, but I buy it at Costco, and it's just big ass bales of composted wood bark and peat is the mixture with a little bit of perlite.
Okay, let's just go back a second, right? Let's say we're doing a 4-plant grow. You say
okay.
each pot is going to have, say, 25 liters in each pot, right? That would be about right for this kind of soil.
This is where I generally don't put that much in. When you hear living soil, super soil, people are like using these fucking huge pots. I'm in 1.5 to 3 gallon. My biggest pot I own is a 6 gallon, which is like pretty big, 24 liters, 23 liters. So, but I only use that as like a mother pot that I'm growing something out for a year in and filling a 3x3 or a 4x4 or something in.
Right.
But no, most of my stuff is like 3 gallon is my choice, and probably like more like 2.8 gallon because I don't quite fill them full. But the 25 gallon ones, like that's more for like the living soil.
No, 25 liter.
Or 25 liter. What is that in gallon?
What, 5-6 liters?
6 gallons.
6 gallons. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of like I think the minimum people like for the living soil type shit, where you have to have enough space for like an active microbial community to live and flourish, and not just like be there. With my soil, like I do a drench of like I add a compost layer when I flip to flower. Usually about 1 to 2 weeks into flower, I'll sprinkle a little bit of compost to like reinvigorate my soil with microbes. So it's not like they're in there like, and again, I've never actually looked in my soil and like checked how the microbes change over time during my grows, but whatever is happening, it seems to really work in my case.
So let's say we're mixing up 20 gallons of this soil.
Yeah,
that would be about right. So 4 or 5 gallon pots.
Yeah, 20. Yeah, that's about right, I guess.
So about 80 liters.
Yeah.
4 or 5 gallon pots. So how much of the base would you need? And you say you'd use like peat or cocoa for the base.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of my recipe. How fuck much do I use? I use 120 liters of base, I think. Right. Just because like when you're cooking the soil, you do want enough, again, space in there for the microbes to start flourishing and get to where they're going to be depleted from, if you know what I mean. And you also need them to like start kind of breaking down is the wrong term, but cooking the soil. in the 2 weeks of making it. But yeah, what the ratio for like 4 or 5 gallon pots, like I don't even know, like for a
So
specific
you use
amount.
120 liters of
Yeah.
base. So how many
Yeah.
liters do you cook altogether? When it's all done, how many liters do you have?
Yeah, probably like 130-ish.
All right, so
120,
a lot of it
130.
is made of just base then, just peat or
Yeah.
compost.
Most of it is, you
Yeah,
know.
it's like more than
The
90%.
second, yeah. Yeah, the other stuff, like it's fairly concentrated nutrients, and you do put quite a bit in it considering, you know, but it's a slow release stuff that I use anyway in my recipe. I can't speak for other people's, because a lot of other people do have problems when they plant directly into super soil you buy from the store. It burns their plants and shit.
Mhm.
But I've never really had that problem with mine. But yeah, you start with a base, you know. I would say at least, like, again, there's a critical minimum that you need, I think, in terms of cooking it properly and having the microbes flourish again in the 2 weeks that it's sitting there waiting to be used in your baking stage, I guess. But yeah, again, I should probably just pull up my recipe. I don't even have it up. It's easier for me. I don't fucking remember it off the top of my head.
It was just, I want everybody who's listening to make sure that they have exact numbers to work with, so they can make, you know, they can mix it up all nice and know how much they're gonna need of what. So if they get like a 50-liter bag of cocoa, what kind of super soil are they gonna be able to make out of that using a 50-liter bag of cocoa as their base?
Yeah. So you, like, I mean, I'm just popped it up on Percy's here, and if you just did cut it in half, so I said start out with 105 liters, so we'll just cut everything in half. So if you started with 50 liters of high quality potting soil, you know,
so that's
you'd have
potting soil, not peat or cocoa. You'd use potting soil.
Yeah, I like potting soil.
Right.
I mean, potting soil is essentially is peat. It's just got a, you know,
Just
might
got
have
a
some
little
worm
bit in there.
castings,
Yeah.
and maybe some a little bit of compost and a little bit of perlite. But you could use peat. Yeah, peat is fine as well, because you're going to be putting in. You just might have to add a little bit more perlite in the end in terms of drainage. So yeah, 50 liters of that. And like, again, I just go down to the store and, like, I don't buy Miracle Grow soil if I can help it. Like none of the bigger branded stuff, just the most basic stuff that you can get and the most local stuff you can get is what I stress. Right. Worm castings, you need about, I guess, 5 to 10 liters. Well, 5, yeah, of worm castings, which is a fair amount. You can make your own worm castings.
Not if you've got a worm farm. It's pretty easy to get that.
Yeah. So if there's local sources of that, we have a couple people I can go to here and buy worm stuff from, and most garden stores do sell it as well. But you know, the further away from you, the more processed it gets, the crappier it is generally. So yeah, you're gonna want 50 liters of soil, then about 5 to 10 liters of worm castings. Don't go too hard on the worm castings. And these amounts aren't like, you can be within, you know, 10%. You don't have to be exactly on 10 liters. But yeah, the worm castings don't go too hard on, because they're fairly dense, and they can clog up your soil if you have a ton of them in there, and it makes drainage a little bit tricky. So then next, what I use is blood meal. These are controversial, blood and bone meal, but I use blood meal. I don't give a fuck. It's there. It's a product of the slaughter industry, I know, but I mean, as long as people are eating beef, that shit's going to be there. So we might as well use it for something productive.
It's not like they're harvesting cows just to get blood meal from them.
Exactly. Yeah. If they were harvesting for their blood, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'll find something else. But you know, I like blood meal. It's always easy to find, pretty cheap, and really good nitrogen content. It doesn't have anything else in it except nitrogen, and it's pretty good for microbial encouragement. They enjoy that stuff. The worm castings, again, just to go back quickly, I use are for nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, like the NPK, but they don't really have too much in them. Generally, they're more for like micronutrients, and also to like kind of encourage microbial development. So yeah, after the bone meal, that was 1.5 cups of that in my recipe. And again, this is just my recipe. So we'll go over alternatives and stuff after we're done here that you can use in terms of other stuff than what I use, because maybe this stuff's not available for you where you are or whatever. So bone meal is also from the slaughter industry. I use steamed bone meal, 3 cups of that, quite a bit more. Phosphorus is important, root development and other things. I think in flour as well, it's pretty good. Plants eat the shit out of it. And this one is important also to have a good cook of your soil. Like you want to make sure it's properly I don't know what else to call it, cooked.
Yeah, and
because bone meal.
We seen in the chat there from Rustin House, I think he said you can use the term resting, because we don't want to lead people into the idea that you're going to cook this shit in the oven for a certain amount of time. It don't go on gas mark 8 or 40 minutes.
No, you're just letting it. You're fermenting it, whatever. Letting the microbes fucking.
Once it's mixed, just let it sit there and do its thing for a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
we actually did have somebody at Percy's that did actually cook their soil on top of a stove once. So yeah, don't do that.
But people do that to, like, if you get shit out the garden and you want to make sure all the bugs are dead, then you can cook your soil like that. But you're gonna kill a lot of shit in there, and your house will stink. So don't do that.
Yeah,
the house will smell like shit, literally. Yeah.
Yeah, the bone meal though is just microbial activity is important to help make the bone meal or the phosphorus in the bone meal available. So yeah, that's I put a lot of bone meal in it. There's a little bit of nitrogen in it too, which is great, and calcium as well. Lots of calcium in bone meal, obviously. So after that, I'm using some dolomitic lime because it's got calcium and magnesium. It's quite slow release, so I'm not really using for the calcium and magnesium per se. It's more for a soil buffer, in terms of helping it keep it kind of nice and sweet, not super acidic, not super basic, I guess. So yeah, it's a great amendment. It's very cheap, and it lasts quite a long time. And afterwards, when hopefully you compost your soil ball like I do, it will persist most likely in that soil ball, and then it'll become part of your compost that you can use again and again and again. So it's a gift that keeps on giving, that dolomitic lime. Don't use what's the other kind of lime? Calcium based stuff. Dolomitic lime is calcium, magnesium, carbonate, and then the other one is just calcium carbonate.
Right.
Yeah, we want magnesium in that. Then next, what did I say? 3 cups of dolomitic lime. Cut that in half. 1.5 cups of dolomitic lime.
Right, okay.
I apologize. Yeah, so 3 cups of bone meal, 1.5 of dolomitic lime. Next, I use 1 heaping cup of Epsom salts in my normal recipe. You could probably get away with still putting in, maybe not a heaping cup, but just like a regular, nicely trimmed cup of Epsom salts. This is magnesium sulfate. It's there for the magnesium mainly, and the sulfur. Sulfur is a very important nutrient in growth of cannabis as well. But it's quite soluble in water, so magnesium sulfate, Epsom salts get washed out or used up quite quickly as the soil is watered and stuff. So that one I do give my plants a shot of it every once in a while. But yeah, in the initial mix, you're going to want about, I would say, 1 cup, like nicely trimmed, not like overflowing cup.
Right.
Epsom salts.
A cup
I
is
buy
about,
mine.
what is a cup? Is like 240, 250 milliliters or something.
Oh yeah, sorry, 250 milliliter.
Okay.
Yep, or 8 ounces for you imperialists. Yeah. And yeah, the Epsom salts I use, I know people say, buy them from the garden store, but I buy mine from just the grocery store in those big plastic jugs. Yeah, just make sure you get the USP, which is United States Pharmacopoeia, which means I think that it's just purely that.
Yeah,
it's
you,
just
you don't want
sulfate.
scented magnesium salt. You just want straight, just 100% magnesium sulfate.
Yeah. If it's got flowers and shit on the label, be like, probably don't get that.
Probably not.
Just should be white crystals. That's all.
Cheap generic stuff.
Yeah, I buy like 4 kilos for $12, so it's way cheaper than it's plant specific, and maybe there is something different. I don't know, but so far I've had no issues in like the 12 years I've been fucking growing. So. And then the next part is really important, especially if initially you didn't buy the regular potting soil kind of mix, because potting soil generally has a bit more drainage based on what it's made of than just pure peat. So perlite and vermiculite is the next one, and it says 5 to 10 liters. That's a very, very vague thing. Some people, if you want more drainage, if you want your soil to dry out quicker but drain better, put more perlite in. If you want it less, then put less in, but be aware that if you put too much less, then you're going to have issues with drainage and possibly clogging, and you get root issues and shit. More is better if you're going to do anything, but yeah, I would say like 5 liters of perlite. I like perlite because it's readily available. Vermiculite, it's not so much of an issue anymore, but it used to be mined in asbestos derived kind of areas, and it could be contaminated with asbestos because the mineral is it's associated with asbestos minerals basically. But not so much anymore because there's high regulations on that shit. But just vermiculite's generally a lot more expensive and better used for other things like growing mushrooms. So stick with perlite. Rice hulls are an organic alternative. I've never personally used rice hulls, but apparently they're pretty good.
They break down over time, don't they? And feed.
Yeah, they'll break down. They provide a bit of silica too, which I'm not too concerned with. But yeah, rice hulls are another option. So, and then what's next? 5 heaping spadefuls of sifted compost.
Well, you're using half of that though. Say 5.
Yeah, so a couple heaping spadefuls. So like, I don't know what that is. Maybe 2 liters, 3 liters of compost. Compost is a pretty flexible thing. The more you put in, the better, really. To a point, you don't want it all compost, but compost is weird because it both helps with drainage as well as prevents excess drainage. It gives you a shit ton. This is where I impart my microbial activity because, again, like I said, I make my own compost and I have a bunch of endogenous microbes that are chilling. So when I make my teas and just mix it in with the soil, they get mixed in as well. So compost is really important. If you can't get compost, it's okay. Try and get some steer manure or composted steer manure or sheep manure are my 2 choices. Animal manure, again, is kind of like a lot of people don't like to use it. Animal byproducts, the vegan crowd, all that kind of stuff. But
It would have been really hot as well if you got to let the manure break down for 6 months or so.
Yeah,
some compost.
You don't want to just be following the cow and collecting the shit that's falling out of the ass. But if it's in the store in a bag, hopefully it's been properly decomposed and composted and stuff. And that's what I buy. I just go to Canadian Tire and buy like $3 bag of steer manure. That's generally available. But if it's not, then compost or that, because these are kind of where your microbes will come from. Cow shit's not the sweetest to use for microbes, but there's other ways.
Unless you're growing cheese.
Yeah, or I mean fungus, I guess, that grows on the patties, right? Those teachers that are golden. But yeah, so what's that? That's it. That's all I got.
So round that up for us. What is it again? How many liters of which?
So 50 plus, say 55 liters. And then perlite is another 560. And then, I don't know, I would say 65 liters, like total volume, because the rest, like the blood meal and the bone meal, they don't take up much room, right? They're more like amendments than a medium.
Yeah. So 55 liters of the potting soil. And how many? A quarter of a liter, 250 milliliters of, which was it? The bone meal, the blood milk bone meal.
Yeah, 1.5 cups blood meal, which is 250
times 3.
3.
Yeah.
Fuck. Yeah. Sorry, I don't have it in metric, even though I'm in Canada, which is funny. But I'm all about cups,
Yeah, a copy is just 250 milliliters.
Yeah,
so
so
it's
you got
easy
to
to
do the
replace.
math, I
Yeah.
suppose. But yeah. So then, yeah, after you've collected all of that, if you're gonna make my recipe again, this is my recipe, but there's other recipes out there you can try. I use one of those kiddie pools, like the little
The
paddling pool or
paddling
whatever
pool,
you.
yeah.
Yeah. But I just use that as like a big tub, and I dump all of this shit in there all together. And then I take my rake and I mix it up, uh, like you would a cake batter with a spoon, but use a rake. Mix it all up really, really good, kind of so it looks homogeneous, the same kind of texturally everywhere. There's not big patches of perlite here and like cow shit over there, whatever. You want it kind of even looking as best you can. So it is a bit laborious in that sense. This is again how I do it. A lot of people, if you're more mechanically inclined, you could build some sort of tumbling drum, like a cement mixer type thing, and toss
Mhm.
everything in there and roll it around. That would work great. I would love to have one of those, but I'm pretty shitty at building stuff, so I don't have one. But yeah,
So would you add any
af-
water to this? 'Cause it's in the paddling pool. You just
yeah. Well, after I've mixed it, usually when I'm adding my water is after it's kind of sitting there mixed. I take 1 gallon usually, and I'll sprinkle it with my watering wand, but a watering can works just as well. Just don't have it like dumped in one spot. Kind of, you want to evenly distribute it as best you can. Water your soil and give it a good mix around to kind of mix the water around. Um, and then after that, I'm putting it in a big, huge barrel that I have, uh, which again is kind of like, not everybody has room for this or access to big barrels with lids on them and shit. You can use like tubs. I know somebody that used like just a big Rubbermaid tub and just kind of mixed it around every once in a while in there. They didn't, because what I like the drum for is then I can roll it, right? Because you do want to mix the stuff. You don't want to let it just like stratify, and the stuff at the bottom won't have access to oxygen, which is really important for the microbes that you want to proliferate in your soil to have access to, because they'll die if they don't. And then bad ones, the anaerobics, will start coming up, and those ones are not good. If your soil starts smelling like dead bodies and stuff, which it can, like because of the bone meal and stuff, yeah, you want to get some oxygen in there ASAP. So that's why I like the rolling ability. And if you had a big drum like a cement mixer type thing, that would be perfect, because you could always just open it up, infuse some oxygen, roll it around, get that kind of mixed in there. But yeah, for me, I fill up my drum, put on the lid, kick it on its side, and then roll it around in my yard.
I use a mixing auger, like a 36-inch mixing auger and a drill, just punch it down and pull up.
Yeah.
And it works.
Perfect.
I know exactly what you're talking about, though. Just aerate it.
Yeah. Any way you can get air in it. Air is important. Same, just like with anything, compost is the same. The good microbes need oxygen, just like us. So
would you leave it just sitting there in that tub for like 2 weeks and just roll it around every couple of days or something?
Basically, yep. If you can do it daily, like that's cool. But yeah, at least kind of every 2 to 3 days. Ideally, you want it in a warmer environment. You don't want it like borderline freezing, like 0 degrees or 32 Fahrenheit or whatever. But warm enough so then the microbes will be like, oh man, it's warm in here. Let's get eating, guys, and do their shit. Probably what they say. Because yeah, just like with anything, to a point, you don't want to cook them. Like again, I shouldn't. That's an appropriate use of that word.
Yeah.
But
so
yeah, too hot is not good. But
so where would you get these ingredients from as well? You can get them all from a normal store, right?
that's where I get mine. I stress very much that you should support your local businesses and your garden stores and stuff. Because as much as I love Canadian Tire, they're a big box store, and I like the little garden shops.
So you can make your own compost, and you can make your own worm castings after a while when you get a worm farm, which we'll be covering in next week's Grow Guides. So,
Yes.
So if you do, and when you when you source these things locally, the microbes are going to be more applicable to your local area as well. So
Mhm.
and that's something you want to be looking out for when you build this soil, is making it so your plants will be immune to different pathogens that from the environment it lives in. So if you use local microbes, the more likely to be immune to things as well.
That's right. That's always been my thought. You know, anything that's bad around here is probably fighting with the good shit. So if I can get the good shit in my soil, probably that's an IPM measure already there, right?
I've seen,
It's
I've seen sometimes people put rock dust in and shit like that. Do you not use any of that?
no, rock dust is cool. You know, I'm a geologist, so I'm a big fan of rocks and their dust.
It's more like a slow release of nutrients, so that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's that shit is super slow. And honestly, there's not a ton of nutritional value in it. Like it's not like it's super slow and but you know, your plant can't live on fucking granite dust just for the potassium that's in the feldspar that's in the granite, right? Like and again, it takes a lot to break that shit down depending on the mineralogy of the shit. You need some serious time and some serious microbes and usually a pretty acidic environment. So like to me, rock dusts are applicable in something like a living soil where you're going to reuse it multiple times, like over years, I would say. Because again, it's not immediately available, and if you're just dumping it in for like the way I use mine for a 90-day or 100-day grow, probably it's not even going to be touched by the time I dump my soil into the compost, because I don't reuse my soil in the sense where I put a new plant in the same block. I put my blocks in the compost bin, which I then use the compost in a new batch of soil, kind of closing the loop that way.
Right.
But and again, rock dust would be good to have in your compost. And again, like Rusty Nails has said, you know, the worms, you know, they use it as grit and shit like than other things. But like, I don't think I need to add that to get that. So I don't do basalt rock dust or glacial whatever, moraine rock dust, granite, crushed granite.
Marge, you've used TG soil before, right?
Yeah, I have. Yep. I did everything that he said. I bought all my stuff at Canadian Tire. But they are not corporately owned. I believe they're
I mean,
so there's that. It's really close to my
Tire,
house.
don't get me wrong.
I just mixed mine up. I had to mix mine up in like a big tote because I wasn't about to go out and buy a kiddie pool just to do that, because I'm pretty sure my husband would be like, where the fuck are we going to keep this after you're done with it? But it worked. It worked great. I have to make some more this year, actually. And one of the reasons I started doing it is because I'm composting too, and I'm looking for ways to use my compost. So yeah.
So you amend this shit, do you, TG?
Sometimes it depends on the grow. Like I don't know if I posted anything. I think I posted somewhere about I just recently did a grow of these auto double grape, or I should say quadruple grape. Hopefully I don't get sued. But they're a 65-day auto. So like seed to cut, it was 65 days. And I was like, fuck, that's not it's super, super fast. But I didn't have to do anything but water those. That's it. Water in a 1-gallon pot even. So like 3.8 liters. Very small. Ish. Smells like onions too. It's fucked. Didn't get any grape. Super resinous, but it might be a good breeding plant. But yeah, the onions are a bit off-putting. Anyway, so in that case, no, I don't have to add anything. But in another case, like I have these Forbidden Dream in my 4x4 that I have in 4-gallon pots, so 16 liter, and I veg them like, you know, I monster crop them, and I was like, oh, I'll just train them for another week. Oh, you know, just, you know, a few more days. And they're fucking huge now. And, you know, we all know plants, when they go into flower, they're using a shit ton of energy. And like those secondary metabolites are not simple molecules, right? They need a lot of stuff to build THC and CBD and all the terpenes and stuff. So like those atoms come from somewhere, and that somewhere is the nutrients. And so they're eating a shitload. And yeah, I have to amend. So when I amend, I go back to my old favorite fish hydrolysate preferably, and kelp.
Where would you get fish hydrolysate from? That sounds like a complex one.
Not really. It's usually at the garden store in the organic section.
Okay.
If they have it. hydrolysate or fish emulsion is generally a bit more common.
Mhm.
Emulsion is not maybe as good just because the processing is it takes a lot of the good stuff away, whereas hydrolysate is like a cold process where it preserves a lot of the good shit that comes with the fish. Some people say it imparts a fishy flavor into the weed, but I never really had anybody tell me my weed smells like fish or tastes like fish yet. So
Mm.
I don't know if that's a tuna kush or something, right?
Well, I have harvested fishy tasting weed using that stuff before, but this is way long ago, and I'm sure that I didn't do a lot of shit right.
Yeah. No, I don't use a ton of it. It's pretty usually it's kind of just more like a little bit of a supplement. If I notice there's a teeny bit of fade, I'll feed like maybe once a week or something like
Mhm.
that. Fish like and these products, especially kelp, is exceptionally good for microbes to eat. They quite enjoy that as well. So it's not just for the plants. Plants there's cytokinins and other plant growth hormones and shit in kelp that are good, but it's also for the microbes, as is the fish. Um, so yeah, usually I'll do a little bit of fish if I need to. Epsom salts I do tend to have a bit of an issue with magnesium deficiency if I do have any deficiency, and I think that's just because the dolomitic lime, again, it's a rock dust. It's crushed dolomite, which is calcium magnesium carbonate, and therefore it's not super available in a short period of time. It's more again for the buffering capacity that it provides. So Epsom salts are another thing that I'll use as a supplement, and just a quick shot of, I think Jorge in his purple book, that's the that's what I've always followed is 2 teaspoons per gallon until morale improves.
Right.
So that's it though. Nothing like, no sprinkling of this or that or dry amendments on the top surface or anything.
Just water for the whole grow.
Yeah.
So this soil's
and
pretty
then
good to build if you want to run an auto, then especially because it's going to last about 12 weeks.
yeah, it's great for autos actually. Yep.
Mhm.
Great. I mean,
Yeah, I've used it for autos for my outdoor
Yeah.
grows.
yeah. And I should say this is my soil, and there's other things you can substitute in for the ingredients I use if things aren't available to you, or there's just other super soil mixes too. But yeah, building your own is like the way to go. It's just like anything, it's cheaper, and you control what goes in it. You can kind of design it if you're growing long flower shit like the 16-week stuff where you need that extra oomph. Maybe you can use bigger pots and design your soil to provide more nitrogen for longer or something like
Mhm.
that. But yeah, this works fairly generally in my experience. You still do need to have a bit of like ability to recognize if things are going a bit weird, because the pH does get fucky sometimes, and so you got to give it a good flush to refresh the medium and wash out whatever might be happening in there. But it's not quite autopilot, I would say, but I don't think really anything is growing wise. So yeah.
When you flush your soil, what's that process? Because I know it is slightly different to say flushing cocoa.
Yeah. Well, I'm only flushing when I notice a problem generally. And like I say, it's generally with pH. My leaves will it's not canoe, but it's like the opposite of canoe. You know how they curl in on themselves, sort of.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just everybody knows, well, not everybody, but a pH issue. When that pops up, I flush pretty much like anybody. I think I put in enough water, like clean water through it. Actually, probably not, because I'm more going on like a color thing. Usually, if there's an issue, the color is pretty fucking brown, almost coming out. The first bit of runoff, orangey brown. And so as that fades, then I'm like, okay, whatever the fuck that was is gone. And in all my years of growing, that's like whatever that is, washing that out, just like it's like injecting the shit with steroids. The next day they're just like, fucking let's go, you know. It's crazy. And it's happened outside when I've grown petunias too. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with these things? They just look like shit. Yellow leaves, nasty. And then I watered them and this like ooze of orange came out. And I was like, oh fuck. Like, I don't know if the microbes are just like, you know, that one pot they didn't get along or what's going on. I really should like try to do more science shit on this, but like again, flushing tends to fix the problem. And yeah, I'm just dumping water through until this fucking color fades. You put enough water through to know that like it's washed for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And you just let it drip out, and you can't really overwater unless you have a soil that you've kind of messed up and you don't have proper drainage, so it like holds the water really badly.
Yep.
My soil really does like drain good, and then it dries out quite quickly again, especially if you have a good robust plant in there that's drinking hard too. So
yeah. So I mean, even with all your amendments and everything, though, you're not worried about potentially washing it through and then having to the only again, I'm just asking because it's one of those things that I think people, you know, they hear the word flush and then the next minute they're stressing for that reason, or have I flushed out all the good stuff and stuff like that. So
in the final bit of water that I put through, I might add a bit of Epsom salts because again, those are fairly water soluble and they will wash out. So, but and Epsom salts are fairly benign too. You know, unless you're fucking putting a shitload in, you don't really overdose them on that too easy.
Yeah.
So I might replenish that, but yeah, the flush is the super soil ingredients are built to be robust enough not to wash out. I think like blood meal is not soluble in water. Some of it is, like you get it wet and there's something that dissolves and washes away, but it's not like salt where it's like instantly dissolved and instantly gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, in my experience, if I do have to flush, it doesn't really affect the nutritional capacity or whatever is left of that in the soil until the end.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of questions here in the listener mail section as well. The ones from Woody kind of apply to this. It says, do you test your soil after it's been initially mixed and has cooked for 2 weeks? Do you then test for the proper amounts of pK and pH?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and no, short answer.
You
I
just know
don't,
it works
and
from experience.
yeah, I want to, and I know there's there's a lab down. Well, Cheryl works at a fucking lab that does this, so could do it easily, but it's expensive, and I haven't yet. But I really do want to, just because then I can know exactly where I'm at and possibly amend it to make it, don't have that magnesium deficiency that props up or shit like that, or kind of link things to like, oh, that's probably why that's happening. And then, you can go from there. But no, I've never had it tested, but I really want to, and I probably will. Is there
a test kit that you would use? Is the one you would recommend people can buy and use to test their soil?
Well, I have no affiliation with anybody or any labs or anything, but we have the SRC here in town in Saskatoon, and I know A&L labs they're in Ontario somewhere. They kind of like where everybody goes for their soil shit. So like they're kind of like one of the labs that are up on hoplite and viroid type stuff. So they kind of like, they're not just like a lab that does this. They're a lab that does this and kind of cares about it at the same time, it seems like.
Right.
So again, no affiliation or endorsement, but like A&L might be a good place to start in terms of getting a lab test if you're in Canada.
Cool. And then we have a question here from Woody as well, which is a little bit different. It's kind of after the soil topics. Can you use can organic nutrients come from a bottle? It's like, organic is one of those terms which is taken differently depending on different people. It can be kind of, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say like fish. If your fish is reared organically, the whatever your emulsion or hydrolysate's made from, then yeah. Kelp, if it's harvested properly in the organic way, whatever that entails.
Oh.
And again, like Mackie said, it really depends on that definition.
And when you get organic nutrients out of the bottle, to increase the shelf life, they usually make this shit like really alkaline to make sure that microbes can't grow in it and it won't be able to break down what's inside the bottle to extend the shelf life, you know. So when you do use it, it will change the pH of your water quite a bit. So make sure you check the pH if you're going to use any organics out of the bottle. But personally, I think if you want to try and get good nutrients organically, you can get it from your compost bin and you can get it from a worm farm, you know, just to put some of that in your water. Let it bubble, make some compost tea. That's a nice organic nutrient you can use to cover most things in the garden, right?
Yeah, no, tea is important for many, many reasons. I use it mostly for microbial enhancement, and also the IPM that it provides, you know, spraying it on leaves. You have a bunch of slime covered your leaves, and then the bad bacteria land in there and they get all fucked up because there's already a bunch of badasses there living. So yeah, compost tea is great. But yeah, like organic, I mean, it really depends on the source, you know, just like the stuff in the bag or the stuff in the brick. You got to make sure. And Mackie is right, you know, some of the stuff that they put in bottles is for preservation. I know the stuff I have downstairs has citric acid in it as I would assume a preservative. But, you know, you can get probably organically derived citric acid, I would think. And also it does lower the pH, so that is something to be aware of when you're adding it to your water. But yeah, it's hard to source because organic as a word and a label is pretty fucking convoluted. And depending on where you are or who you're talking to, whether it's, you know, somebody who's a chemist and is like, yeah, it's just carbon based, that's organic. It's like, yeah, that's true. But it doesn't really apply to, like, you know, good practices in agriculture, which is another version of organic. You know, are we hurting the earth any more than we need to in this practice and stuff like that? So yeah, again, make your own. That's my biggest advice. But
yeah, that's the best thing to do. Make your own, grow your own. You know, if you can make your own soil, and all the instructions are in this podcast. But if you need any help, then you can head over to percysgrowroom.com because the recipe is there, but you can follow step by step. And of course, if you need any help, you can always ask questions over at Percy's Grow Room. But do you have a guide for this on your website as well, TG?
not yet. No, my website's still fucking sitting there, probably being hacked. You know, it will be up there eventually. You know, my recipe that I use every day now is, I have added a couple more things that aren't necessary, but I just like to add as like a, you know, little stamp of my magic or something on them. So then, you know, when people buy it, they feel, I don't know. I offer it as the recipe, but I kind of feel greasy if I'm like selling the same thing I offer for free or something. But again, it's up there for sure. And if you follow that one, you'll be in good hands. But I do want to like make sure I give a big shout out to Tom Hill, who's active now on Instagram. If you're into the haze, check him out. Legend Tom Hill, and Vic High and Subcool, because they're, again, what this recipe is all based on. And if you get Jorge Cervantes' book, there's a shitload of information.
The Cannabis Encyclopedia.
Yeah, the Cannabis Encyclopedia. There's 3 recipes in there that, again, this is what I use based on what I have locally available. So you can read those and then kind of build your own version if you like, wherever you are, because again, not all this stuff's available where you are. So yeah, check it out.
Sweet. And of course, if you do build it, get over to Percy's and start a thread so we can see how it's built and how you did, and then run your diary with it as well so we can see how the plans turn out in the end. It'd be good to see.
Percy's is good actually, because I think I put there's a shitload of pictures on there of like, here's when I added this, here's when I added this, here's what this barrel that I was talking about looks like. So it's just picture step by step, which is great. So yeah, check that out for sure.
Just a quick couple of questions before we wrap this show up. Sorry, Bob, were you going to ask something?
I was just going to say, I know you touched on it before, Tej, but with your from seed and stuff like that, do you have a starting mix you use first to get them on the roll before you put them into this mix of yours, or you can run it the whole way through? Because I know, you know, as we were talking before, things get a bit hot for seedlings and that. Is there, or you're sweet to run it the whole way through?
I always go direct into it. If I do anything, I might like blend it like right in the planting hole, which the planting hole of a seed is tiny, so I don't really do this with that. But yeah, from seed, no, you just you can go right in it. Again, compost, if you mix a bit of compost in to dilute it, maybe. But yeah, you're fine to go right in there for sure.
Sweet.
Nice. Yeah, good question, man. It's an important one because you don't want it being too strong and it kills off seedlings.
Yeah. Happens a lot too, I find, on like the store-bought
Yeah.
stuff.
I would
Yeah,
when I was doing the whole organic soil thing, my seeds would get killed off if I planted them straight into the organic. So I'd use like a handful of cocoa in the middle, plant the seed in that,
Mhm.
and then it will do fine after that. That's how I would roll.
I don't know what that is in there. I mean, obviously it's something that's, yeah, I don't know, just, yeah.
Mm.
Weird. Anyway,
Well, we got a couple more questions to wrap this shit up with. We have one from Foamy Bowls. He says, soil question. Why do soil companies still use plastic bags instead of biodegradable ones? And it's pretty simply because the soil will eventually eat the paper.
Yeah, microbes like paper.
Yeah.
good, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd
Yeah.
dry out too, wouldn't it?
Probably they're cheaper too, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Man, I
there are
had this the other
companies.
day, back, you're all going to remember. Random tangent, it's only going to be a minute, everybody. But here in the UK, we used to be able to just go to the shop, get your shit, and you'll get your plastic bags, right? And then the UK government passed a law, which is a good law, saying that you need to pay 5 pence for your plastic bags to try and reduce the amount people are using them. And, people just started using a lot less plastic bags because they weren't free to pay 5 pence for each one. But the other day, I went to the shop and the missus pointed out to me that she was buying paper bags, right? Economically friendly and shit, but paying 40 pence for each fucking one. It's like, how did that happen? How did we go from paying 5 pence for plastic bags to save the environment to paying 40 pence to the fucking paper bags to save the environment? So what the fuck happened here? But yeah, random fucking tangent, man. We're getting ripped off, man. Somebody's taking the piss out of us. Just
If
saying.
it makes you feel any better, mate, we can't get plastic knives and forks or straws here
Yeah,
anymore.
that's a new thing they're implementing here in the UK. Single-use plastics are gonna be gone. Instead, they're gonna be using wood, trees.
It's like a $50,000 fine.
Wow.
If you're a company and someone comes in and you're getting rid of plastic straws and knives and forks and single use, yeah, it's like 50 grand fine.
Hell.
I can just imagine what America is going to be like without its red plastic solo cups. Oh my gosh.
Oh, whole
It'd
country
change
might break
dorm
down.
parties forever.
That's it. No more parties.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, last question from Firetop. My question is there any way without smoking to test if what I've bought is healthy enough to consume? Because unfortunately, Firetop here is in the UK. We still have prohibition and you have to buy street weed and it's usually sprayed with some kind of nasty shit. He said, I've got loads of people I can reach out to, but only a handful I can trust. If you have a handful of people you can trust, you're doing pretty fucking well, Firetop. I don't have a finger full, all right? But yeah, you really can't trust anybody out there. The only one you can trust is yourself, man. You have to grow your own shit and use your own shit. And if you're going out to buy shit, it's probably gonna be shit. So it's best that if you haven't got your own, just try and take a tea break for a few weeks until the next crop comes down, in my opinion. But is there any way you can test this shit? Does anybody know of any way you can test it without smoking it? And see if there's any contaminants?
You might be able to
we
use
used
like
to
a
use-
scope and just see if there's anything visual, like
Yeah, check for mold and shit.
mildew.
Yeah, yeah.
A good
Yeah.
start with
And
that
those-
at least.
Yeah, and those are pretty inexpensive to buy
Mm-hmm.
as well.
We used to use two little methods where you'd grab a little bit of it and you'd put it in a cup of water and you'd see if anything come off it.
Mhm.
And the other one was to just burn it and see what happened. And you burn it if it's popping and hissing and carrying on and it's not
leaving
burning
black
that nice.
ash. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're getting that sort of thing going on, then yeah, probably best to leave it alone.
Some nasty shit.
But
out
I mean,
there,
that's a stoner bro method. It's not. It's in no way scientific. So
it's happened to me in the past. I've bought weed in the past, and it tasted like old Wellington boot. And
Yep.
you know what that means. And it's like, oh, I better check this
Good
with
old
the
friend.
scope. And you check
Good
it,
old
and you
friend.
see fucking mold and rot in there.
All little
Yeah,
white
no.
hairs in there, the
Mhm.
mycelium. Yep.
Mhm.
It's no good, man. So that's a good idea there, Marge. You just make sure you check it with your trichroscope first, and that will give you a good idea of whether it's clean or not. And then after that, burn some and see if you see what the residue is left behind with the ash. You want a nice, clean, grey ash. If it's got any large bits of black in there, then it's not been flushed properly, or there's some other chemical causing it to turn black. That's about it, really. That's all you can do, other than getting a proper scientific test, breaking it down, and finding out which with different chemicals are in there. But that's going to be a lot more complicated. You don't want to do that just for a little bag of street weed. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Man,
Probably
I
going to
used- I
take 6
remember-
weeks.
I remember back in the day when weed popped all the time. It was like every time you rolled one, it was like popcorn going off all over the place. I can't remember the last time I had weed pop.
So there we go, everybody. That was the nice one, TG, for all the information there on the building the soil.
Yeah, it's a bit disjointed, it's not hard. Like, don't overthink it would be my advice. And like, again, these amounts that I listed are variable. Like, you don't do it to the gram and worry if you're out or something. And again, try and like source everything as close to you as you can, because like if you're ordering back guano from Indonesia and you're like up in Alaska or something, or I don't know, somewhere far away from that, then it's like kind of defeats the purpose of building a quote unquote organic super soil.
Yeah, it might have been sourced organically, but it didn't get to you organically.
Yeah, and
So yes.
Yeah.
So
You're
thanks
not
for-
saving the planet if you're burning 37 dinosaurs just to get the products to yourself.
yeah,
It's not
and
dinosaurs, it's leaf. Leaf, right? Oil is
true.
made up of leaf.
it's carboniferous. Yeah, 330 million year old leaves
That's right.
approximately.
That's right.
Dinosaurs are anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, a tangent. But let's move on to the outro then, everybody. Let's do that. And a professional fade out on the outro tune there. Look at that. Yes, the outro was definitely more professional than the intro. But there we go. That's the way it goes sometimes. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We massively appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the show. I hope you enjoyed the news. Hope you enjoyed the grow guides. And if you do go to build your own soil, make sure you visit us on Percy'sGrowroom.com and show us how you did it and how it works out in the end as well. Of course, we have our Discord server now, so if you want to come and talk to us at any time, visit our Discord server. The link to that is in the description of this video, so get over there, check it out. Quick shout out to all the patrons as well. We got it up on the screen here. Quick shout out to you guys. We have Cloudy, Twisted, Dr. X, Grower Urban, Top Loader, Clist, WRT Gunner, Stutty, Noxy, Self Silly, Eggman, Backblast, Gellert, Andy M, Stonewolf, Salter Bowls, Arnie Scarpa, Canna Wife, Grodad, Lucky Luke, Satan Soup, Billy Bonds, High Guy Gardner, Savans, I'm Sparky, and Margon, Trout, Dr. Greenthumb, Hashimoto, Four Plants A, Figment, aka Bugtech, Postman Wayne, Majestic Jane, Michelle P, DOPGR, Furburger, Leo Stars, and Woody. Nice. Thanks to all the patrons. And of course, if you want to become a patron and support the show, you can do so for as little as $4.20 a month, and then you get access to all of these cool ass interviews that we do twice a week. We're doing interviews right now. We're getting a good list of them all put up there. And just a reminder for that, for the interviews, we have Tad Hassey on the 17th, the High Ladies on the 19th, Gino Kenny on the 24th, Queen of the Sun on the 26th, and Jorge Cervantes on the 31st, and that's all in January. Then for February so far, we have Tommy Chung on the 3rd of Feb, Daniel McQueen on the 7th of Feb, Lizzie Post on the 9th of Feb, and Nikki and Swami on the 28th. And there's going to be lots more to come as well, so make sure you stay tuned for that shit. So yes, if you want to jump in for those interviews and come and watch them live with us, then come a patron.
And I'll remind them about the very special one that's coming up that we can't say anything about just yet. But
That's
I mean,
right.
you definitely want to be a patron to get in on that one.
As soon as we have confirmation, everybody, then you will see
come
it.
out.
When
Yes,
we know,
indeed.
you will know. Trust me. You know what I'm saying. So
you won't
yeah,
be able to contain yourself. Just be this excited Mackie running
you're like,
around
I did
the
it.
forum.
I did it.
I did it. Look, yes, I did it.
Getting that interview took longer than building the pyramids. Anyway, yeah, so of course you can head to patreon.com/Percy's Grow Room. I was going to say high and homegrown, but that's not it. It's Percy's Grow Room. So patreon.com/Percy's Grow Room, and you'll find us there, and you can become a patron for little as $4 US dollars, $4.20. So Gilbert, no, it's not Joe Rogan, but he has been a guest on Joe Rogan numerous times.
Ooh, now you're
There
getting
we
a little
go.
bit too easy, Mackie.
Yeah, I know. It's the end of the show. What can you say?
He wants to kill everybody so badly.
It's been a pleasure as usual, everybody. I hope you all have a good week. Make sure you keep an eye on the YouTube channel throughout the week as well, because we're gonna edit this video up and send them out in all little pieces, and we would appreciate your likes on all of those as well. It's just a nice way to support the show, just dropping the likes on there, some views and shit. So help us out just by liking the videos and sharing and all that kind of shit. Whatever you can do to help us is always appreciated, especially all that sharing shit, because the YouTube algorithm hates us because we share the common interest of this beautiful plant that we all enjoy. So we need you to help us grow. So share with a friend. Bring a +1 next week. Yes. So thank you again, everybody. I hope you all have a great week, and we'll catch you on the next one where we learn about making worm farms and stuff. Do it. Nice. See you on the next one, everybody. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Okay.
Everybody
Wave, wave.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.